Okay, everybody, we're going to get started. All right. Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes you guys to the regular scheduled meeting of the Montezuma County Planning and Zoning Commission. It's being held in the Commissioner's Meeting Room in Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Room 250 in Cortez, Colorado. We're going to open tonight with Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Want to call the roll, Don?
Commissioner Armstrong.
Here.
Commissioner Lynch.
Here.
Commissioner Doyle.
Here.
Okay. Also present are Don Haley and Jane Duncan, County Planning Department. Absent is John Hernandez, Commissioner Neargard, and Haley Saunders. All right, please silence or turn off your cell phones during the meeting. Important calls may be taken outside of the meeting room. All right, so first up, has the Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed the April meeting minutes?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move we approve.
I second.
Okay, motion was seconded by Commissioner Lynch. Commissioner Doyle. Okay. Call the vote.
Commissioner Armstrong.
Aye.
Commissioner Lynch.
Aye.
Commissioner Doyle.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. All right. The Montezuma County Planning Commission welcomes you to this meeting. This board is comprised of members who are tasked to make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. We are not the decision makers. We encourage public comment after each permit. Persons speaking during public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced at the discretion of the Planning Commission to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address their thoughts and concerns. When addressing the Commission, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments. Comments to individual applicants are not permitted, and participants may not yield their time to others. Okay, let's call the roll.
Commissioner Armstrong.
Here.
Commissioner Lynch.
Here.
Commissioner Doyle.
Here.
Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing for the purpose of reviewing and determining recommendations to be made to the Board of County Commissioners regarding a proposed high-impact and special use permit application for solar photovoltaic electricity generation facility submitted by Canyonland Solar, LLC, agent DavidKimmett, on properties owned by Dennis Hutchinson, Tissaw Family Trust, Goodman Point Farms, LLC, Susan Last, Jon and Robyn Foster, James WilsonBaxstrom's Miners Trust, J Schafer Living Trust, and Jon and JessicaChappell, all situated in section 2021, 2729, 3234, Township 37 North, Range 17 West of the New Mexico Prime Meridian, and located south of Road S, west of Road 18. This is a public hearing. Was the public notice published?
Yes, sir.
Was evidence of letters to the adjoining neighbors and mineral owners submitted?
Yes, sir.
Was the sign posted?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll hear Planning Department findings first.
Okay, the applicant proposes to construct a solar photovoltaic Can you be nice and say please?
Can you please speak up?
The applicant proposes to construct a solar electric generation station of approximately 960 acres. The surrounding properties consist of agricultural and residential uses. The Canyon of the Ancients lands are to the west and the south. The properties are accessed from roads S, 16, 17, 18, P, and N. The applicant has been in contact with the Road and Bridge Department for truck routes and bonding. No utilities will be needed for this project. Wildfire Adaptive has said that although the majority of the subject properties are agriculturally used and pose low fire risk, and evacuation routes shall be cleared, even when considering a new building. It does not mean it is free from fire risk, and mitigation efforts are always recommended. Let's see, no weed plan is needed, and that's it for that. I do have some letters from a couple agencies that I received. Let's see, one is from the Division of Water Resources, and this comes from Corey, who is the augmentation coordinator for District 7. Applicant is proposing construction on a large solar array on 960 acres of mostly agricultural land in Montezuma County. Project application implies no water will be necessary for the operation of the array, but 75 acre feet will be required for construction. The stated source of this water will be via truck deliveries. DWR requires that they source this water from a local supply of water, although it is unclear if there are any existing irrigation ditches or other water rights already existing on the 960 acres. If so, these are to be unaltered and allow for continued use in all capacity by the water right holder. Although also, if any stormwater detention or retention ponds are to be built, DWR requires that the guidelines be set forth according to state bills, Senate bills. This application does not directly state any use from existing water rights or well permits. DWR has no further comment. Then this one comes from Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And this one is from Brian McGee. He is the Southwest Region Land Use Chief. It says, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, CPW, appreciates the opportunity to review and comment on the Canyonland Solar LLC high impact and special use application before the Montezuma County Planning and Zoning Commission. CPW's mission is to perpetuate the wildlife resources of Colorado, to provide a quality state park system, and to provide enjoyable and sustainable outdoor recreation opportunities to educate and inspire current and future generations. Responding to county, agency, and industry requests for recommendations to avoid, minimize, and mitigate the impacts of various types of land use development activities on wildlife resources in Colorado plays a vital role in our ability to fulfill this mission. CPW has reviewed the materials provided by Montezuma County on April 29, 2025. This proposal involves the installation of a 140 megawatt utility scale solar generation facility on approximately 940 acres of privately owned land. The total leased lands include approximately 3,700 acres on 15 parcels owned by 10 separate landowners. Canyonland Solar LLC is a subsidiary of UV Inc. UV first approached CPW for consultation on this project in 2022, when this location and the proposed facility were known as Coyote Gulch Solar. Since then, CPW has provided UV with recommendations to avoid and minimize impacts to wildlife, many of which have been included in their proposal. The project area consists mostly of dryland agricultural fields. Canyons of the Ancients National Monument borders the project area to the west in a series of canyons. These western canyons are dominated by pinyon pine, juniper trees, and other native vegetation. Many wildlife species utilize these natural habitats, including elk, mule deer, bear, coyote, mountain lion, bobcat, migratory birds, reptiles, and various species of raptors. The project area is mapped by CPW as Mule Deer Wild Concentration Area, High Priority Habitat, or HPH, and Elk HPH is within a mile to the northwest. Approximately 940 acres of agricultural land will be impacted for wildlife species. However, agricultural lands have somewhat diminished habitat value compared to undisturbed natural habitats. Indirect impacts on wildlife occur over time from the functional habitat loss associated with fragmentation and modified habitat use in response to changes in land use. CPW anticipates that the construction and operation of the facility will alter and change the behavior of animals that historically would have used the project area and surrounding lands. However, there are very few scientific studies on which to rely on to inform what these displacement distances may be. The following recommendations were made by CPW in early consultations and included within the application. CPW recommends modeling the fence after the wildlife exclusion fencing used by the Colorado Department of Transportation, which uses 8-foot high woven wire. They also recommend altering the facility layout design to remove panels that are near canyon edges. The purpose of this suggestion was to allow continued movement within and near the canyons. CPW also recommended altering the facility layout design to have more separation between fenced panel arrays and provide greater potential for big game movements throughout the facility. The distance to make these gaps is still unknown, and further research is needed. Then in conclusion, Colorado Parks and Wildlife appreciates the opportunity to provide input on the Canyonland Solar project. We appreciate the UV has been willing to meet with us and listen to our suggestions. If you have any further questions regarding these comments, he gave his phone number to call.
Thanks.
That's it.
Okay. All right, applicants are here. Anything you want to present to us?
Yes, Chair Armstrong, thank you. I have a presentation to give, a small presentation if you'd like
Sure.
that at this time.
Yeah.
Okay,
do that
great.
right now.
And is it customary to provide an introduction of who we are at this
Sure,
time?
please,
Okay.
yeah, turn on your microphone.
So thank you. Thank you, Chair Armstrong and Commissioner Doyle and Commissioner Lynch. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I appreciate everyone here in the audience tonight, and I know there's a lot of passion involved in people's opinions in both directions on the proposal. It's been many years in the making to get to this point. I first reached out to Planning Director Don Haley in 2020 with the concept, which at that time was called Coyote Gulch Solar. And subsequent to that, there was other meetings. We presented to the Board of County Commissioners in public hearing in 2021. last year was I held 2 neighbor meetings with residents of the Goodman Point area that are neighbors to the project. Held another one last month, and it all culminates in the application before you tonight. So thank you for this opportunity. My name is DavidKimmett. I'm the manager of planning for UV. We are a solar development, engineering, construction, and operations and maintenance company based in Boulder, Colorado. My address is 9536 Schlegel Street, Longmont, Colorado. With me tonight is my colleague Nick Miller, who is the Director of Development for UV.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to meet all of you, Mr. Doyle, Armstrong, and Lynch, and really appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you. And yeah, my name is Nick Miller, the Director of Development at UV. Dave and I have been working together for a long time, and really look forward to the conversation tonight. So really appreciate you having us.
Thanks. Okay. So I have the presentation ready, and then Director Haley will wave a magic wand and make it come on the screen. There it is. Okay. So the name of the project is Canyonland Solar. It was at one point called Coyote Gulch Solar. The name didn't seem quite as appropriate, so we decided roughly a year ago to change the name. And it's considered under the Montezuma County Land Use Code as a major facility of a public or private utility. And the permit type is, as has been mentioned, a high impact permit, special use permit. Project overview slide. So 140 megawatts of solar photovoltaics only. That means it's just a solar energy producing plant. There's not a battery energy storage system component. Batteries are not a part of our proposal. 140 megawatts roughly equates to the power needs of 30,000 average Colorado households, if you want to think of it in a quantifiable way. The project, as proposed, will connect to the existing tri-state transmission grid, which is in the southwest corner. Let's see if I guess my cursor does not show up on the screen, but if you look at the southwestern corner of the project map that's on the screen right now, that's where the main switch substation is. It's an existing tri-state substation that helps to take and deliver electricity into the tri-state system, including tri-state member co-op, Empire Electric here in Montezuma County and Dolores County. The estimated revenue, and this is a uniform method that the state of Colorado conveniently uses for all jurisdictions across the state. It's a schedule, and the estimated revenue for the project in increased property tax value for the current land, which right now is it's zoned agriculturally, different agricultural type zone district designations, would be $9.8 million in property tax revenue increase over 35 years, which roughly equates to $280,000 in increased property tax revenue for the county per year. 57% of which, the largest share goes to Montezuma Cortez School District RE1. They're the biggest mill levy recipient. So, you know, you could think of it as $160,000 roughly would go per year to Montezuma Cortez School District. This is a vicinity map just to give an overview of where this is relative to Cortez and Areola. So west of US 491 and to the east, immediately to the east of Canyons of the Ancients National Monument. Here's the site access routes that are proposed. So the county has an existing trucking route system that is designated by the Board of County Commissioners and, well, proposed by now former Road and Bridge Superintendent Rob Engelhardt. I did read that he retired, but as adopted by the Board of County Commissioners. And so that's the green lines on that. So access for hauling would be via County Road U, County Road 20, Road S, Road 17, and then if necessary, on the very south side of the map, you can see that's Road P. For passenger vehicles could access the project site directly on County Road S from US 491, but hauling vehicles could not. So within the application, I think it was 574 pages long. There are several subplans, and probably the three highlight subplans that each of you have seen are the decommissioning plan, dust mitigation plan, and the fire protection plan. These are subplans within the overall site-specific development plan that each of you have received. And these photos that are on this slide and subsequent slides and the previous slides generally come from the project area site. These are photos that either I have taken or others at UV have taken over the years since we've been going through this proposal process. The decommissioning plan is really important. We understand the sentiments of what's happened in the county. I've read about the Ironwood development near Dolores and problems with that, and we've been a company, just to backtrack a little bit before I talk about the decommissioning plan a little bit more in depth. We've been building solar energy facilities across America for 17 years now. We started in 2008, so this is not our first rodeo. And we've, as a part of that and as the industry has matured, UV as a company and others who are involved in similar pursuits within utility scale solar realize that decommissioning plans are an important component so that jurisdictions don't feel like they could be left holding the bag should a project go bankrupt. The most recent example we have of a decommissioning plan successfully negotiated is with Dolores County to the north for the Dolores Canyon Solar project north of Cajon. And we have a similar plan proposed for Canyonland Solar. Dust mitigation plan, just an important thing to consider in the arid west, arid and semi-arid west. We're cognizant of dust considerations. The roads accessing the project are all paved, which is helpful. But nonetheless, during construction, there's dust, and so there is a dust mitigation plan. And then finally, fire protection plan, which was reviewed and approved by Louis Areola, Fire Chief George Stevers, and that's a component part as well. Some other plans that are a little bit on a lower threshold, but nonetheless important, contained within the application. We have a noxious weed management plan, recognizing that there certainly are noxious weeds, and the Colorado Weed Advisory Board lists weeds in list A, B, and C categories. There are no list A weeds found. We have conducted site studies on site already. There are some list B and C weeds. And so we have a mitigation plan for those, a management plan for those. This picture in the upper left corner shows some Canadian thistle, late stage Canadian thistle and salt cedar. We have a revegetation plan. Post-construction, it's important that any solar project is reseeded, obviously, and our model that has been successful throughout the West, most of our projects are built in the West. I mean, we are based in Colorado, and we understand the very unique needs of a project here as opposed to one, say, built in Georgia. We've had great luck with revegetation. And as a part of that, we source local seeds when possible. So for the Dolores Canyon Solar Project, as an example, we've been working with Southwest Seed Company in the town of Dolores for a seed mix for that, and we think we'll probably be working with them for a proposed Canyonland Solar revegetation seed mix. The seed mix that we want to utilize here, as with all of our projects going forward and a few going backward, would be sheep palatable. We find that agrivoltaics, that third bullet point there, has proven immensely successful. That the photo in the lower left side is from a project in the desert of western Utah that we built called Pavant Solar. So aside from building projects, we also operate and maintain projects. And our maintenance protocols, historically we're using mowers and herbicides when necessary. We found that sheep grazing, brings in the agricultural element, helps to keep that agricultural momentum going forward, even though the project itself is potentially displacing agricultural lands that grow crops. This is a new type of opportunity. And although the environment is semi-arid to arid, we've had great success. The panels create shading and creates a microclimate beneath them that is conducive to growing grasses that are delicious to sheep. And so we've really had good luck with that, and we look forward to hopefully using sheep on a Canyonland Solar project. So collaboration is key in any successful project. This has not been a short-term event. We didn't just show up a couple weeks ago with an idea. As I mentioned, we first started in 2020 with Don, a conversation with Don Haley, a Board of County Commissioners hearing on, I think it was November 16th, 2021. We were on the agenda of the Board of County Commissioners. There was a bit of a hiatus in 2023, but 2022 was our year of essentially designing, going into site studies, trying to understand the land better before we got to the point where we were ready to kind of go public with this. 2024 is when that happened. So the pre-application conference with Planning Director Don Haley and other staff members and area agencies was in April of 2024. And that led to some further understanding of the project. The first public meeting that I held was August 15th, 2024 at the Lewis Areola Community Center, and it goes forward from there. Anyway, Don Haley was introduced to this in 2020, Board of County Commissioners 2021. Rob Engelhardt and I had some really good discussions to prepare a road use agreement. There's not a road use agreement component to the project yet because he wasn't ready, understandably, to go into that until to see what the outcome was from Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. And that's very similar as to what happened in Dolores County as well with the Dolores Canyon Solar Project. We had a Planning Commission hearing there. From that point, the charge was, let's start discussing before Board of County Commissioners hearing a road use agreement. So we're happy to do that with whoever the interim or nominated new road and bridge superintendent is for Montezuma County to replace Rob Engelhardt. Working with local leadership. So I've had multiple conversations with Lewis Areola Fire Protection District Chief George Devers on just the best practices for fire. He helped shape the project and informed us of the need to back away from draws in the area by 100 feet minimum. And so that changed our design around, which is great. That's part of the collaborative spirit that we always engage in. There's a community benefit concept that I'll talk about with Lewis Areola Fire Protection District in a second after I go through the other two. So CSU Extension Agent Emily Lockard She and I have discussed the idea of agrovoltaics as a vegetation management concept, she acknowledges that there aren't a lot of large-scale sheep ranchers in the area, but there are some small ones, and there's others beyond the Montezuma County confines that could potentially be brought in if necessary, but we look forward to further discussions with her on that. And then finally, the Montezuma Cortez School District Superintendent Tom Burris. Tom and I have had numerous discussions about collaboration with Montezuma Cortez School District RE1 on a potential community benefit. So I would like to go a bit further into the community benefits concept for the three listed agencies here. So going from bottom to top, with Montezuma Cortez School District, Tom and I have discussed a potential teaching tool array at Montezuma Cortez High School. This is not a part of the application. This is just a community benefit that UV would like to offer. All of these community benefit concepts are things we'd like to offer. They are not part and parcel of the application. It's just an extension of our realization that we do have impacts, and we want to try to help offset and mitigate some of those with bringing things to the county that could be helpful. So Tom came up with the idea of, hey, how about an array at the high school that could be a teaching tool? And so we've actually had a solar energy consultant from Durango, Shaw Solar, come in and take a look at a solar canopy type of array at the high school that would be in part built by the high school students themselves. They would build the support system in the metal shop, and the arrays would be installed by Shaw Solar, and this would be something that UV, of course, would be paying for. But as a part of that, we would also, in a kind of career day sort of format, talk to students about the potential of careers in solar energy. So Tom himself said to me yesterday, please bring this up at the hearing. He can't be here tonight, he's traveling, but it's really important to him. He's passionate about this idea, and you know, this could be something that could happen. If it will happen, not if. Should the project go forward, this will happen. UV will be paying for that. With Emily Lockard, we've had great conversations with her about 4-H. There's probably many people in here who either have family in 4-H or have been a part of 4-H. My family's been in 4-H in my part of Colorado, and it's a great learning experience for kids. And we will continue that discussion and a potential donation to some of the various 4-H chapters that are in Montezuma County. Finally, to the top listed item with Lewis Area Fire Protection District, Chief Devers and I have been talking about the idea of UV underwriting the cost of a new defibrillator for their ambulance to assist. They have one that has, I guess, gone under, and he is the county coroner, so that has been declared dead, and we might be able to help pay for a new one of those.
Excuse me. Everybody, we're going to ask that everybody maintain and let the applicant speak, and you'll get your opportunity to speak during public comment. Thank you.
So agencies have given input, as Planning Assistant Duncan read the letter from Brian McGee, the Colorado Parks and Wildlife Southwest Energy Liaison. He helped inform us of areas where we really should stay away from building our design, and we did. We took that to heart, and one area in particular was the northwesternmost portion of the project where we were planning on building. Had a good conversation with Ray O'Neill, the manager of BLM's Canyons of the Ancients National Monument, and met with in person State Senator Cleve Simpson and State Representative Larry Don Sukla to talk about the project as well. Collaboration with the community. So these are the 3 public meetings that we held with neighbors. So I sent out invitations for a meeting with project area neighbors for the first one on August 15th. That input at a really intense but important 3.5-hour meeting really gave us food for thought to on some of our design concepts, and that changed our design. For the people who have worked with me, some of whom are here tonight at these meetings, they know that the design has changed. It is not the same design now that it was August 15th. Subsequent to that, back in December, held another one at the Cortez Cultural Center. Same thing happened. I sat there for 7 hours and took in comments from people who came in, and that gave us more design changes that we just didn't realize, and that's why we host these things. They're not required, we just do it. Last month ago, had a 3-hour meeting at the Cortez Chamber of Commerce and shared the final design as was submitted to the county in our high impact permit, special use permit application. This is the current project design. This is what's in the application. And this is a product of all of the various types of input we've received over time, whether it be public comment, agency input, or professional third-party studies. This is what the design looked like back in 2021 at the Board of County Commissioners meeting on November 16th. This whole area in the very northwesternmost portion of the proposed project at that time is what CPW said, yeah, you need to back a couple hundred feet away from the canyon rim there. We did, and eventually we were like, let's just cut this out. So that changed, other parts changed, and that was no longer the design. This was the design that we came forward with at the August meeting at the Lewis Areola Community Center. So at that time, there was a lot more in the northeastern portion that's no longer there. We got feedback from that. The lease area that we have, so as has been mentioned, the project is sited on 960 acres, but we have under option agreement 3,500 acres. That's how we were able to move project pieces around to try to best site. We optioned more land than we ever needed. The project has always been 140 megawatts. The output of the project never has changed. It's always been 140 megawatts. It's finding the right places for that. And the product of all those meetings equated to design changes, meetings, professional site studies, agency consultations. So this was in August. After the August meeting, we changed it again, and this is what I came to the December 10th Cortez Cultural Center meeting with, and I received more input, and that changed the design, and eventually that led to what has been seen, which was what we submitted in our application. So this is one that is interesting. So this design shows this is the design as proposed. When we started the process, we backed away from any house that was in the vicinity of our design by 500 feet. That was our own internal goal. Okay, we're going to have this design be a minimum of 500 feet from any house. That's what we came to the August meeting with. We came to the December meeting with, okay, we are now 600 feet away from any house. And after that, we ended up with 800 feet from any house. And that's the final design. So there is no house closer than 800 feet. There is a new neighbor potentially who has purchased land that might, I think is here this evening and might speak to where they might want to build a house. And that's something that I guess we'll hear more of if that does happen this evening. But as we knew of houses, every home is a minimum of 800 feet and now significantly more for many because of design changes and public input. Like everything people told us has helped us immensely understand things, and that's where we ended up. These are the planning documents that are part of it. So we don't rely upon like, oh yeah, we're experts on every single thing. We just know how to do it all, because we don't. So the best practice is to hire professional consultants to help guide us. We hired a phase 1 environmental site assessment consultant from Durango. We hired locally here in Cortez, Woods Canyon archaeological consultants to conduct class 1, class 2, class 3 archaeological studies and reports for most of the land. We have more to go still, but that's been done. Our wildlife, aquatic resources, noxious weed management, and revegetation plans were conducted by West, a company based out of Cheyenne, and then all of these, as mentioned, helped us to formulate the project design that we have now. Back to economic benefits. I mentioned this, so I don't need to say it again. That's the exact number. I think I said 9.8 million. It's $9,883,629. And then that's each year on average. There's a lot of potential for local construction jobs. Our Dolores Canyon Solar project in Dolores County has hired locally heavily, and we do that wherever we go. A lot of jobs can be hired locally. Some are special jobs that require special certifications or knowledge that we bring, it being a general contractor ourselves, that we bring to the table. But a lot of jobs are local, and a lot of materials purchased are local. That's where the whole sales and property taxes, or the sales taxes comes in, is during the purchasing of so much during that roughly 18th month construction period. And that helps increase money for schools, everything that public relies upon during both the construction period for the short term, quite large injection of monies, and then the long term property tax revenue. And it's one of the energies on the table in a place that's very sunny for American energy independence. We want to produce our own energy, and this is being produced right here in Montezuma County potentially. There's great sunlight in this part of the state, some of the best in the country, and it works well for producing solar energy. Interview, there's a clip, the upper left of Montezuma County's land use code. Lower left, that's Main Street. And, the application as submitted to the county meets the intents and standards of Montezuma County's land use code of a major facility of a public or private utility, and the high impact permit, special use permit portion under section 2101.7. There's certainly landowner rights considerations on both sides, and there's the side of the land that we would be leasing. We don't purchase the land where the project is, we lease the land. There's the rights of those landowners, and there's also the rights of people who probably speak tonight as residents, and those are both important, obviously. There's a large increase in short-term project construction jobs, as mentioned, and the regional tax revenue is immense during that time period. But then there's the long-term property tax revenue that the county can rely upon for the 35-year estimated life of the project. And then, as already mentioned, the community benefits opportunities. And yeah, this last slide. We valued this time working with the planning department, with various agencies, and especially myself as a professional planner. I don't mind getting in the weeds with the public, and as a lot of people here tonight know, I've met them where they are, literally met them where they are, and I've felt their passion about this, and I understand their concerns. It is a very complex set of parameters that you have to consider, and we appreciate that. It's not easy. We feel that this will pay dividends for generations to come, but we also understand all the things that you as a commission have to contemplate as well. I really I haven't spent much time in this part of the state until this project, and I love this part of the state. It's beautiful. I've been fortunate to get to know some people. And, you know, I'm a sixth-generation Coloradan myself. My family came here in 1862, and my own family is torn about me being in what I do as, you know, my job. So I get the idea of why people are for or against a solar energy project. So in the end, thank you. Thanks for allowing us to be here this evening.
Thanks. All right, I'll open it up to the commissioners for discussion. Have anything?
Yeah, I've got a few questions. In the proposal, you mentioned a generation tie line or a gen tie. Could you tell us what that is?
Yeah, good question, Commissioner Lynch. So a gen tie line is just short for generation tie line. That is what connects the solar energy facility. I can go back a couple slides if you want to put it back on, Don, so it can be seen. Okay, I might just stand up, if I may. So the generation tie line is in the southwestern portion of the project. I wish I was as tall as my son. My son's 6'4", which is hard to believe, but yeah, he would actually be able to do it. The generation tie line goes from the project substation, which will be in the southwestern portion of the project, and connects it to the existing main switch substation. So that would be a transmission line carrying the voltage of the existing transmission line there, which is 115 kilovolts. And that's roughly about 3,000 feet from here to here. That's the generation tie line.
In the documents, you speak of a BESS in your write-up, a battery energy storage system, and that it would be a possible future add-on. And I heard you say just a minute ago that you have no plans for doing that on this project.
There are none. The only possibility for a BESS, for a battery energy storage system, would be if someone else wanted to do that. Our project, as proposed, is what it is. It's a solar photovoltaic project. If we as a company, which we don't build standalone battery energy storage systems, some companies do that. There are some companies who just build BESSes. We don't do that, but let's just say theoretically we did. We'd have to go through a whole nother permitting process. We have no intention to do that. That would be maybe someone else would, and that could be anywhere. You know, some company could say, yeah, we want to build a BESS here, or Tri-State could say that, or they could say, we want to build it in Cortez, or we want to build it wherever in this that makes sense to them in their grid or in the Empire Electric grid. There is no BESS as a part of this project.
What I think I hear you saying is that a BESS is a standalone facility that is kind of like a backup for electricity, not necessarily a backup for this project?
It could be both. Now, there are projects, it's a good question. There are projects that have BESSes as a part of the proposal. And so that take energy directly from the solar photovoltaic system. So you can have a BESS accompanying the solar system.
Yeah.
And the intent of a BESS is essentially to take the power generated, save it for the time of day when it's needed when the sun goes down.
Yeah.
Or if it happens to be extraordinarily cloudy for a period of time or whatever.
Yeah.
So they can accompany a project, but there's also some that can just be built standalone, and they can be put anywhere on a grid. They could be built at just on any transmission line where a given utility feels this is an important location for this sort of battery storage. Yeah.
So to help clarify, I think I know what you're telling me, but
Mhm.
are there any conditions that would absolutely require a BES so that it is no longer just a simple choice for or against it on this project?
Any
Any requirement, anything that would demand that you put this in?
Gotcha. Yeah. No. So we submitted this to Tri-State RFP, and it was not submitted with a BES. And there's no requirement. It's possible that Tri-State will select this project. They may not select
Yeah.
this project. And we have, again, if this project is approved as it is, it wouldn't matter if a different opportunity came about and they said, oh, we would like a BES. By that time, it's too late because we're applying now with the project as it is. So,
So
yeah.
the verbiage in the document says that it could possibly be a future add-on.
And that is, I apologize for that, that made it through in that way. You can literally cross that off. It is not something, you can literally cross that off. We would not be adding, we would not be permitted to build a BES. If the project is approved by the Board of County Commissioners ultimately, it would be approved as you see it. It wouldn't, there's no BES part, so we could not build a BES. So it would be something not, and so my apologies that is in the way it is. I guess my thought at the time when I was writing the narrative was, oh, could there possibly be a BES someday for this project? There could potentially be, but it's not something that we would do, and we can't do it. So that could be stricken, and it could even be a condition imposed just to back that up if it's the will of the Planning and Zoning Commission, a condition of no BES.
Could you run through for me how you calculate the tax benefits to the county?
Sure.
The 9.8 million, the 282,000.
Yeah.
What's the base number? How do you calculate that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Commissioner Doyle. So the state of Colorado makes it rather easy for developers to determine that. There's a schedule, and so that schedule essentially has, it's a spreadsheet schedule. You input the parameters of your project, and it spits out a number, and that will be uniform across any county in the state. So inputting the proposal that we have under a 29% tax assessment rate equals $9.8 million. And then you divide that by 35, that's where the $260,000 comes from per year.
So this project is for a 140 megawatt solar farm, which means it is a utility scale project. The current solar installations in our county are typically much smaller. For example, 10 acres for generating 1 megawatt. Your project is 960 acres to generate 140 megawatts. That's more than 1 megawatt per 10 acres, which is what we're familiar to see, or about 1 megawatt per 7, or if you look at it a different way, 1.5 megawatts per 10 acres. Is it the utility scale size of this project that allows you to get another 50% more megawatts per 10 acres than some of the smaller projects we have in our county?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the nature of the project, I can't say what, there's a couple of factors here. One is the wattage of the panels themselves. So I don't know what wattage other projects used.
Yeah.
The wattage that we propose for this project is 590 watts per panel. And so that goes up and up over the years. When I first started with UV, solar panels were at roughly like 375 watts per panel.
Yeah.
So over time, the efficiency increases in that. Now we have this proposal at this juncture with 590 watt panels. The other part of it is it's on a tracking system. So because of that, you can maximize the utility of the facility itself because the panels will slowly follow the sun over the course of the day. you know, the angle is that south. So, you know, the angle of the racks is to the south, and they will rotate from east to west over the course of the day. And that leads to exactly the math that you talked about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to step in?
Yeah, I have a question
yeah,
about
go
the
ahead.
setbacks. So, on the application for the high impact permit, you indicated that the project's gonna maintain a minimum of 50 feet from county roads and residential lot lines, and a minimum of 25 feet from non-residential lot lines, which is county code. And then in your proposal, you're talking about 800 feet. So just wanted you to just confirm that the setbacks for the residential are going to be 800 feet? Is that what you're committing to?
Right, 800 feet minimum distance from a residence.
From a residence?
Yep,
Okay.
that's
Is
from
that just existing residents then?
existing residences. Yeah, houses as we know of them at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, in your write-up, you mentioned active agriculture in the form of grazing and solar energy production, and it is called agrivoltaics. You mentioned it in your presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Are you planning to do that agrivoltaics on these 960 acres?
That would be the desire. First, we have to establish the vegetation. In the industry, it's becoming a best practice. You know, we can't at this time promise that there will be agrivoltaics. We hope to do so because it works out the best in multiple facets. Our operations and maintenance director, who's not here, has used sheep on a couple of our projects with such success that he wants to bring this forward as essentially the MO for how we operate facilities. And that's increasingly becoming something that other competitors in the industry are doing too. Because when you use mowers, a lot of times they'll nick things or damage things just by virtue of human error. And sheep tend to go underneath and take care of things, and they fertilize the land. It really helps to enrich the soil, especially over a long period of time. There's actually an industry association called the American Solar Grazing Association. It is a thing. I brought it to the attention of the Montezuma County GOP last night when I gave a presentation. And it's surprising that there is such an organization, but there's enough of a momentum behind the idea across America now that it's becoming its own industry, literally grazing sheep underneath solar arrays. And it works out well for multiple reasons.
If you were to pursue that, then would that be something you'd be farming, no pun intended, farming out to somebody on a subcontract basis, or is that something you guys would run?
No, we would subcontract that out. Yeah, we'd subcontract that out. We typically, so when we go to sell a project, we tend to put in we put in the component of we will be the operations and maintenance organization for this project, because we have an operations and maintenance division. We built the project. We understand how it works well. And so we wouldn't own sheep, but we would contract with sheep grazers. So the two projects that we've worked on that in, one is near Fountain, Colorado, and then another one is near Millard, Utah, in western Utah. And it's, we find local sheep grazers for those. Yeah.
Could you describe the timeline if you were to be approved? I mean, what are we looking at here? You go to the Board of County Commissioners and say they do approve it, you know, as you proposed. How long, when would you start? How long does it run? How many people are employed during construction and then after?
Yeah, good question. So the very earliest construction could potentially begin would be later this year. The likelihood of that happening is probably not super high, but it could. It could potentially begin this year. It depends if we end up being selected by Tri-State or not. And, you know, if we're not, then we'll look for other opportunities for offtake potential. And then that would push back construction time into 2026 as a beginning. We estimate construction would take roughly 18 months for a project of this size. And as far as employment goes, I had mentioned, you know, roughly at peak, about 250 jobs at peak. And that would be varying types of jobs over the course of the project. You know, there's, as an example, the Dolores Canyon Solar project that we're building right now in Dolores County, the civil contractor, so the subcontractor who we use for grading purposes and for civil type work comes from Ignacio, and the trenching work that we have to do for trenching in cables comes from Salida, and they hire locally to help them do things. And so we a lot of times go through local labor force organizations to help hire those temporary construction jobs. Long term, you're looking at the equivalent of just a job, basically, especially if this is approved in Montezuma County, coupled with the project which will finish later this year in Dolores County. That would necessitate someone likely to be living here. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm curious, in your presentation, you showed two densities of panels in color photos. In one density, they were very wide apart, and there were sheep grazing, and there was plenty of sun on the ground, and then there were panels. And then on the other photo, you showed the paneling quite a bit closer together. There was very little sun between each panel, and there were no sheep. So is the spacing between the rows of panels, is that part of the intent to graze between the panels?
Part of it is, I can go back to that slide. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. That slide. So part of it has to do with the angle that the panels are at that particular time. Because the angle does change, so that can change the spacing. But it's also the row-to-row spacing as the project is built. So different projects, we change the row-to-row spacing. My colleague Nick Miller can probably speak a little bit better to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we were looking at the site, one effort that we made to be able to consolidate the site footprint to incorporate all of the comments we received from the community was to shrink that row-to-row spacing to have a lesser ultimate footprint and impact on the greater area. So to speak to Dave's comment, the row-to-row spacing has shrank over time to be able to accommodate just a lesser overall site footprint. And as you had discussed as well, some of the beauty of that as well is the fact that there's more shaded area to allow for better growth of vegetative purposes that help support the agrivoltaic potential as well.
And so I think what I'm hearing you say is that for this particular project, it's going to be designed for a tighter spacing than in order to accommodate some of the distances that you're having to deal with for close to the canyon, close to residents and such. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yes.
And in regard to this sheep thing, I was thinking that you were using the sheep 30 all the time, continuously, but it sounds like it's a convenient way to mow underneath the solar panels. So you would have the sheep move through and graze, and then they would go off-site when they're done, and then come back when it got high enough to be mowed again.
That's correct, yeah. It would go through rotational grazing, and depending on the area of the project, so if you look at, let's look at a map. You know, a bigger area like the one in the middle they can be, and we have done this, essentially penned within a certain area to keep them focused on one zone, and then they would migrate through different zones. A smaller portion, like in the southwestern part of the project, that's probably small enough that you wouldn't need to have separate pens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll add.
Go ahead.
My apologies. I'll add too. For a site of this size, it's likely that there's going to be a pretty continuous process. So once they are penned and move to their final location, it's going to be about time to start back at the initial location. So it's going to be relatively continuous.
Okay. I think that helps me understand a lot better. In the threshold standard pages of your application, the maximum building height standard of 35 feet, you marked that it would not be exceeded. I've learned in previous P&Z discussions and hearings that this limit not only applies to buildings but any structure and would include things like towers or signs or power lines and supports. And in your application, you have not stated anything about the overhead lines, and I think I read in the documents that those will be 65 feet high.
You're talking about the Gentile line portion, yeah.
Yes.
So Gentile line would definitely exceed 35 feet, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so that probably ought to be edited in your application. Another question, in those threshold standards, you indicate the traffic will exceed 15 vehicle round trips per day. And depending on the phase of the project, there will be different levels of traffic to and from the project. At the highest, I think I read that there could be 25 tractor trailer trips per day and round trips per day, and 175 to 200 light vehicle trips per day. The high impact permit application only deals with direct access requirements, so that's right at the project site. However, there looks to be like there's only 2 roads that you plan on using that go west from Highway 49 to the project. Road S is one, and I saw on one presentation Road U, and on the other, on the documents, I think I saw Road T. I'm not sure which one is the actual one that would be used. But anyway, I'll get, that's only 2 roads. So with this amount of traffic, and I realize this isn't for the entire 18 months, this is like at the height of construction, so somewhere in the middle or end, I don't know.
Somewhere in the middle, yep.
Some part of that time. And I was just curious, and it's not a requirement here apparently, but I'm just curious, does CDOT require any mitigation for short-term high-volume traffic like this? Because the 491 speed limit at those 2 roads is 65 miles per hour. And I live on one of those roads, and I can imagine the traffic is going to back up on that road, at least in order to get out. I don't know about getting in.
So CDOT does not require that, and they, as an example, a bit further north on 491 for the Dolores Canyon Solar project, that was not a requirement of CDOT as well.
All right.
Yeah.
I got a question. As you can imagine, there's some concerns around view shed impacts. I just wanted you guys to weigh in a little bit more in detail for the benefit of everybody here about how the light diffusing surfaces and how that's gonna work.
Right. Yeah, so most certainly views have been something that's been mentioned to me multiple times. And that's understandable, and that's part of, our backing away as much as we possibly could from people's residences as a distance buffer. But coupled with that, you have to think of a solar panel as something that, first of all, the premise of it is to collect as much light as possible. Light that is not taken in is essentially wasted potential energy. So it takes in as much as possible. That said, some is certainly refracted off. The glass that is the surface of the panel is essentially has a mottled type surface that makes it makes the light diffuse, as opposed to like it's not a mirror. Yeah.
In part 6.11 of your write-up, what is a dedicated concrete cleanout area?
So concrete cleanouts are for when you, in the very limited concrete that we need for the project. So I should clarify, because this is something that is frequently asked. So what holds up the racks? The rack posts themselves are not put into concrete. They're pile driven. So they just are driven straight into the ground, typically to a depth of about 6 feet. So there's no concrete involved in that. The concrete that is used is for the floor of the utility shed. That has concrete. The transformer has concrete. The inverters have concrete. So these pads essentially for these units. So it's very limited. But the concrete cleanout area is a discrete area where a vehicle that is involved in the concrete preparation cleans itself out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how much of the 960 acres that are in the project, how much of those acres are productive agriculture acreage?
It's roughly 3/4 is dry land ag. About 1/4 of it roughly is just open land. None of the land that we're leasing right now is under CRP. Some of it was formerly under CRP, but none of it currently is under CRP. We've talked to the landowners about that, and they informed us, yeah, they took their land out of CRP years ago. So it's essentially fallow land. Yeah.
Something I thought I heard you say as well is you said the documents that you submitted were like 570 pages and 75 pages, and mine was only 547. Is there another version out there?
Danglix Dexia. So, yeah, sorry, 547. Sorry, not 574.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good then.
Dave Bramage.
One of the other things that was mentioned is you're going to need the water, not for the continuous operation, but for, I believe, during the construction in order to mitigate the problems with the dust. Is that correct?
That's right. We use water for dust control.
And what is the water source going to be?
We would acquire water from a water delivery company like we have in Dolores Canyon Solar for the Dolores Canyon Solar project, and hire a company or a company like that company to provide the same service.
So you rely on them to choose the source, or do you choose the source and use the company to get it from there to you?
No, we don't choose the source of water. We had contemplated for the Dolores Canyon Solar project using Dolores, the Dove Creek Canal for a water source, and we're engaging with the Dolores Water Conservancy District on that. But it ends up that they're it's called commercial industrial C&I water. They essentially decided they didn't have it wasn't the quantity of water, but some legal component of it was not going to be able to work. So we just decided, let's just not go through that pursuit. So we just worked with a local water hauler of non-potable water. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
in our county, water's a big deal.
Yep.
And I don't know how many times you've been in conversations about water, but it's really important. This year, at least in my case, I've only been allocated 3/4 of a total year's worth of water, which is mean I'm going to be short. And so there are other people in a similar condition. We we own shares to get that water, and if somebody comes in and is going to take that water, it's a big concern. So the source of your water is pretty important in our county.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how to resolve that and so that there's no angst among the county or even elected officials in where that's going to come from. I don't know how to solve that problem, but it seems like if you knew where the source was and everybody was good to go with that, that would be a good thing, a benefit.
Yeah. I could, so we have project managers that are in charge of the various projects we build. The project manager for the Dolores Canyon Solar Project, I can speak to him prior to, if, should we proceed beyond tonight into a Board of County Commissioners hearing, speak to him about the water sourcing that was used for the Dolores Canyon Solar Project, and ask him to find where that source was, where the company that he hired, where their water source was, and bring that to the table prior to the board hearing even, so that the board would know this ahead of time.
It would be nice to have that answer.
Yeah. Yep, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Water delivery companies cannot use allocated irrigation water. It's potable water from Montezuma water.
That's all.
You got anything? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and open it up for public comment. So show of hands, how many in this room want to do public comment? Great. Okay, so just as a reminder, everybody's going to come up to the podium. You're gonna state your name and your address. We're gonna give you 3 minutes to speak. We'll go ahead and do that for first half hour, 45 minutes or so, at which point we may take a step back, determine if there's any new comments, or we may want to shorten the time frame just so we're not here all night. So anyway, if you guys want to go ahead and form a line, start coming on up. Yeah. Yeah. Please make sure you speak into the microphone too.
How's this?
It's on.
Even more? Oh, there we go.
Okay, everybody, let's quiet down just a little bit. Thank you.
I'm Eleanor McFarland, 18405 Road P.2 in Cortez. I'm hoping that you have seen this article in the newspaper today, or yesterday, because I'd like to talk about the water situation at Goodman Point.
Yeah, everybody, please, please. Please, if you need to have a conversation, please step outside. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
I'm hoping that everybody has seen the article in the newspaper yesterday. Pardon me, regarding the big dry in Cortez and parts of Montezuma County. I'd like to talk about the water situation at Goodman Point specifically. Water and wildlife concerns at Goodman Point are equal to those everywhere in our county. The depiction of wildfire hazard potential shown on page 21 and page 29 of HIP 3/2025 is good marketing. The reality is that it's from 2023, the year that we had 85¼ inches of snow at Goodman Point. The U.S. Drought Monitor now shows more than serious conditions of moderate to severe drought as of May 13, 2025. We all know what that means for the current wildfire hazard potential. Goodman Point has its own microclimates. They are far different from anywhere else in the county. We have a weather station at our home with saved records from the past 10 years to support my statements. Here's the real data you need to consider. If you exclude year 2023, the 5-year period ending in 2024 yields an average snowfall of 28.5 inches annually. That's actual data from a site within a 1-mile radius of the entire Canyonland Solar project. 2025 year-to-date snowfall is only 10.25 inches. Rainfall for the same 5 years was dismal. The 5-year period ending in 2024 yielded an average rainfall of 9.6 inches annually. That is reality. The average figure reflects rain, snow melt, frost melt, and hail melt. Until May 1, year-to-date, we had less than 1 inch of rain. Recent rains last week measured less than 1/2 inch. We have a total of 1.4 inches of rain year-to-date 2025. Reality is that moisture stats are far lower than any general area maps will ever indicate. Apply the above information to our wildfire potential or to agrivoltaics and realize just how fragile Goodman Point is. Putting a utility facility in the middle of this environment defies logic.
Thank you.
Hello, Elise Goggin, 13545 Road 32.4. I am going to keep this quick because I know there's a long line of people. Over the last year, I've made myself very familiar with our land use code. I think land use codes are very important. I live in the county. I want to know what my rights are. I've reviewed a large portion of this proposal, not 547 pages, but a good portion of them. And based on my understanding, it meets all of our threshold standards, which I think our threshold standards are very thorough. I've looked at a lot of other land use codes in Colorado, and in my understanding of how this all works, I feel like this proposal has gone above and beyond, meets or exceeds our standards. I think the company has gone above and beyond as well in coordinating with the community, with the county, and all the folks in this region. And overall, I think the benefits to the county as a whole far outweigh the impacts, the short-term impacts during construction. So I would recommend that you guys recommend acceptance of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Emily Waldron, 13545 Road 32.4. I have spent the last 15 years of my professional life working in energy production and regulation, and the last 6 years of my personal life serving on planning commissions in the various towns on the western slope that I've lived in. And like the person who spoke before me, I've looked through this proposal, I familiarized myself with the code, and I think it's really impressive that the first utility scale solar proposal in the county is one that is this thorough and considerate. And I would urge you to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Brad Musto. I live at 17250 Road P as a 4th generation farmer on Goodman Point with the 5th and 6th generations on the land with me. I have a few things to say about any large-scale industrial solar facilities in this area. I don't believe that my great-grandfather's family and my grandfather's family and their generations carved this ground from the wilderness for some latecomers to forever remove it from the use that it was intended for, farming. The Conservation Reserve Program and fallow farming practices have been preserving this land for the future. There's a few things in the permit application that concern me. I'm going to cut some of this out for time. On line 7, the threshold standard says that there will be no significant adverse impacts on normal agricultural operations. This project will directly take 960 acres out of agriculture, plus possibly render many more acres too small or inaccessible to farm. How can this not be considered adverse impact? On line 32 is other significant adverse impacts pertaining to the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Montezuma County. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines welfare as the state of doing well, especially in respect to good fortune, happiness, well-being, or prosperity. Let me tell you, the people I have been talking with are not happy. There is a sense of dread that we are going to be overrun by big business because they see this as a little used bit of farm ground that no one will mind losing. We want to still be able to look out our windows at the views we have always enjoyed. We want to be able to see the deer and elk that live on this land continue to do so in peace. We want our future generations to have the possibility of farming this land. We don't want to lose value in our property and lose money if we can't bear to live near this monstrosity. Has the potential for expansion been considered? Once one facility goes, who knows where it'll stop. So I call on you to examine this application with a critical eye and the land use that it will change and protect the people and lifestyle of Montezuma County. Thank you.
Folks, please, if you could refrain from reacting after the speakers, that'd be great. Thank you.
Beth Hal, 17557 County Road P. Beth Hal, 17557 Road P, Cortez.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Think how much money will leave the community. UV is a multi-million-dollar corporation backed by a corporate tree consisting of many, many branches. They are capable of making payments to each landowner under agreement based on acreage and the handful of workers hired from the area and the tax revenue and the extra contributions to schools or fire departments or community centers, etc., without hesitation. Those are all incentives to make a project that is distasteful to many look more inviting and influence those who do not see the invasiveness of the big picture. The ability to pay out that much money before and after a project is built should give you a clue as how much money will leave the community. The basis of this project is about money for UV. It's not really about benefits for Montezuma County, as they keep trying to make everyone believe. If this project is approved, try calculating the income and profit expected by UV in the eventual sale of the project or the sale of produced electricity or in the tax credits recovered in the future. Maybe that will help you see this isn't about Montezuma County welfare at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Carrie. Can you hear me? My name is Carrie Musto. I live at 17250 County Road P. My family is generational out there on Goodman Point. I am against the solar project on ag land. I'm not against solar projects, but I am against it on ag land. Because what we're doing is we're taking ag production out and putting in solar. And Southwest Colorado is known for pinto beans and for the wheat that we grow. And the wheat that we grow goes down to our flour mill and goes out to all over with our bluebird, our red rose, and Valley Queen flowers that are raised. And those produces are raised on Goodman Point, as well as some of the agricultural lands that were taken out in Cajon for the project that was done out there in Cajon as well. So I'm against taking out ag land for high commercial use, because we're losing a piece of who we are and who what Montezuma and Southwest Colorado stands for, and we are known for this stuff. And the more we lose a piece of who we are, and that's why I'm against it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Don Howell. I live at 17557 Road P in Cortez. I am and always will be a strong supporter of property rights. I will always defend my rights to the best of my ability. At the core of the arguments over whether to allow a solar facility to be built at Goodman Point, it is easy for people to say a landowner can do whatever he wants with his property and stop there. I believe you can outstop there. The legal definition of property rights and even our own land use code 3101.2 subpart A goes further. I'd like you to remember that there is a second part to property rights. And I quote, adjoining landowners carry certain mutual rights, duties, and liabilities. Landowners are expected to use their property reasonably without injuring the rights of adjoining landowners. The enjoyment should not be unreasonably interfere or disturb the rights of adjoining landholders, or create a private nuisance, unquote. Look closely at the contiguous lands that make up the total acreage tied to this project. The size and use of it for a utility-scale solar facility clearly violates the rights of the neighboring and adjacent property owners. I am one of those adjacent property owners. Please consider my rights and those of the neighboring and adjacent property owners as you make your decision that could destroy this country neighborhood we love and know. Please don't turn it into a high-fenced industrial wasteland.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners, County people. My name is Audrey Royam. I live in Mancus 114 East Montezuma. I stand here today as a mother and as a consultant, a fourth-generation Coloradan, someone who cares deeply about this area. I don't have to remind you that Montezuma County is amongst the poorest counties in Colorado, with a poverty rate of 13.2%, unemployment rate of over 6%. Our community faces significant challenges. Our farmers and ranchers, the backbone of Montezuma County, are struggling under rising costs, water scarcity, and a tangle of outdated regulations. In fact, our comprehensive land use code has not been updated since 1997. This is a time before internet, a time that was nearly a generation away. This outdated code, I believe, reflects a world that no longer exists. So while our farmers are navigating new realities, climate change, rising expenses, and shifting market demands, even well-intentioned opportunities like solar development can feel like one more complication for this group. I don't believe that ag community is necessarily opposed to solar. I believe they're just stretched very thin, continually getting the short end of the stick compared to tourism and other industries. Because I do believe that solar on the right land makes sense. I have solar panels on my house, and they help offset my costs. I know that larger solar fields can help provide community with cleaner, more efficient energy. Considering it's out of sight, out of mind, the Comanche 3, one of our main sources of electricity, is a coal plant which faces frequent outages, higher than expected maintenance costs, and is the most expensive coal plant in the Xcel's Energy's fleet. And that's it being one of the newest plants. It consumes 9.4 million gallons of water per day. So when we consider solar, it seems like a wonderful opportunity. Again, I just want to reiterate that solar in the right locations, dry, unused areas, not lush farmland, can diversify income, bring skilled jobs, generate local tax revenue, and support educational programs. I thank you for your consideration.
Thanks.
Jeff Spandero, live at 23545 County Road 12, Pleasant View. Bear with me, I'm not the best public speaker here. I strongly oppose industrial scale solar, especially that on ag land. I believe solar belongs on existing structures. Out in Pleasant View, we are a stone's throw away from the Dolores Canyon project. That's the Dolores Canyon 800-acre solar project. The proposed UV project today is 960 acres. And some of you have probably seen some videos on social media, people driving past the Dolores Canyon solar project. But I would like to urge the audience listening tonight, the Planning and Zoning Committee, and especially the commissioners. I know it's a little bit of a drive out there, but I urge you guys to take the time. Drive out, stand toe-to-toe at the edge of the 8-foot tall habitat fencing, and take in the sheer magnitude and scale of 800 acres. Take in what it's like to be neighbors to something like this. Take in what the land used to be. My final point and question is this. At what point, once we've devastated migration patterns, devastated thousands of acres of ag land, plummeted neighboring property values, broken the hearts of your neighbors and community members that have built their lives and homes and raised their children alongside these lands, at what point is it enough? After how many high-impact special use permits? At what point does the county say, all right, now we have enough solar? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Annette Spandrio, 23905 Road 12, Pleasant View, Montezuma County. And I just want to put my name on the record of saying I am totally against large-scale solar. I love our ag land. I love driving down BB and looking at everything that's in bloom right now, and all the fields that are turning green, and all the deer that are coming through, and the turkeys and everything else. So I'm against solar.
Good evening. My name's Jamie Cowan. I live at 1812 Rampart Street here in Cortez. Really appreciate your time and this discussion. I come here tonight as a parent of 2 kids, one in Louis Areola, one down in Battle Rock, and concerned about the state of the budget for our county, knowing that we had a $1.7 million deficit last year, and that's likely going to get worse with revenues from gas and oil. I really need this county to have a budget that can continue to support education and other critical services. My youngest son has some special needs, and I'm concerned that without adequate support, he will struggle in school systems. I look at projects like this, and I think there are a lot of strongly held views here. But at the end of the day, looking at our land use code, I support the right of the landowners to lease their land. I believe that this project does abide by our current land use codes and some of the best practices for projects like this that we've seen in this area and in this country. I also care about local energy generation and the fact that this could support energy for over 30,000 homes, and that this could be generated here in our county. There are 3 critical areas for me as part of this project: the initial build, the potential sale of this project, and the decommissioning. I've really tried to focus my review of the application in this area as I feel that the application is strong in these areas, is reasonable, and meets the best practices, which makes me reassured, given this company's history in this area and what they're doing in Dolores, that this could really benefit our community. I really feel that this proposal meets the intent and standards of our Montezuma County land use codes. I appreciate your time, and I'd ask that you take a close look at this, but please consider moving forward with this proposal and recommending it to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
My name is David Robeson, 15329 County Road 31, Mancos, and I'm here to speak to the utter insanity of solar power. He's talking about 140 megawatts. One unit of the Craig Power Plant produces 10 times that much. We have been painted into a corner by the politicians in Denver. They have slated all of these coal-fired power plants to be closed by 2030. They've already closed Nucla. They've already closed 2 units of the Craig Power Plant. They're going to close the other 2 by 2028. They've closed the Hayden Power Plant. They're decommissioning the Pawnee Power Plant. And they've painted us into this corner to do this, and it's ruining America. My first job as an operating engineer was for Nielsen's, which used to be a big contractor here in Cortez, on the Craig, doing the groundwork for the Craig Power Plant. And that was in 1977. And that power plant is still in operation today. These guys are talking about a 35-year lifespan, and it's going to go away. And how many of these facilities are they going to have to build? How much property are they going to have to cover up to replace the lost energy from closing these coal-fired power plants. Not to mention the fact that with coal, when demand goes up, you produce more electricity. With this, when demand goes up, you got to be dependent on whether the sun is shining or not. And if the sun ain't shining, it ain't producing, and you got to turn your thermostat down to compensate for it. It's insanity. That's what it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Joy Cochran, 16789 Road S. I want everyone to understand the gift nature has given us out here in Goodman Point. Our dryland soil is comprised of weatherill loam that is superior for growing and has been contributing to our food supply for generations. My family started farming this land in the 1930s, producing our beloved pinto beans and wheat. It's a fact that food grown subjected to nature's stress is superior in nutrition and taste, and that's exactly what our dry land provides. A decision to allow this insult to the land has the potential to turn it into a wasteland. Farmers I have spoken to find it difficult to believe that adding back 2 inches of topsoil over 960 acres will return us to where we started. According to AI, depending on if herbicides were used and if no care is taken to preserve the topsoil, it can take up to 10 years to successfully farm again. UV knows exactly how egregious this project is to neighboring properties. That is why they have a built-in non-disclosure agreement in every contract that is signed. They know that high-impact, large-scale means exactly that. The impact is so high, they know there is not a single person in this room who would choose to live across from, near, or alongside a project of this scale. They know our property values will go down along with our quality of life in almost every way, so they came in the back door. My property is directly west of the proposed footprint. This means as the sun heads west each day, I will experience the glint and glare of the tracking panels that UV states is minimized but not imperceptible. This does not meet the land use code requirement of being imperceptible. Just one example I have time to tell you about. If our health, safety, and welfare remain a priority for this county, I don't see how this can be approved. Thank you.
Kelly Belt, 2726 Fairway Drive. I have a comment and a question. This is quite an application for you guys to review with half the Planning and Zoning Commission absent. So we're relying on 3. And my other question is decommissioning, the decommissioning plan. I didn't really hear much about that, so possibly some clarification going forward on the decommissioning plan. Thank you.
My name is Gary Folks. I live at 67365 Sunshine Road, Montrose, Colorado. I have property at 114, where it is, on this road. and basically I'm here to get a little different slant. In 30 years, you've seen the picture of all the circles? That's an 800-foot diameter, a 1,600-foot diameter. How many more diameters are going to be if you deny this? That's my question to you folks. And how many more people are going to want to live on beautiful part of Goodman Point? In 35 years, all of these people that live here, that live out there, will have an opportunity to do that. This land will end up going into a soil bank for 35 years, which is absolutely imperatively good for our future. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Neva Connolly. I'm at 28264 Road P, Dolores. I have 20 years of natural resource and land use planning. I think this project is clear that while it may meet the county standards, this county land use code is not prepared to deal with the impacts of projects of this size. From the proposal presented, the corporation financial benefits will far exceed the benefits to the county and its residents. The county
Excuse me. Excuse me. You guys want to talk? Please step outside. Thank you. Sorry, continue.
All right, I'd like to see the county look at decreasing revenue due to impacts, property value impacts for the surrounding properties, as well as potential decrease in tourism revenue for this project. This project will be visible from many, many points in the county, including Mesa Verde National Park. I'd like to see the county request firm and solid commitments from this corporation, including dedication to employing local county residents during the construction phase, firm financial commitments to our Montezuma County schools, firm commitments to dust control and weed mitigation, commitments if they're going to continue with agrivoltaics, commitments to grazing throughout the life of the project and not just, the first year the project's in place. I'd like to see the county recommend reseeding with native species and consultation with local natural resource agencies on how to do that. I'd like to see the county request information about erosion control. There's going to be a lot of panels on a flat surface with very disturbed soil. So I'd like to make sure that that is considered. I think as a community we should really request that they use not our very valuable municipally treated water, but non-potable, however that goes around. I think there's a lot that the county can do to request firm commitments from this company and not vague promises and discussions based on discussions with local sources. I'd also like to see that the county request that these commitments are followed through in the case of sales or transfers from one company to another, because I think that we all know that that happens quite frequently in this type of business. And I'd like to see visual
Ma'am, your
mitigation
time is
for the
up.
neighbors. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello there. My name is Jessica Greenberg Cowan. I live on Rampart Street in Cortez. I was born and raised in the Four Corners, specifically in Grand County. So when I was a kid, the mill closed. And that means that when I was growing up, I know what it was like to be in a county where the economy fell out of the bottom of the community, and the ways in which that impacted schools and people's jobs and whether you could buy things and how much people drank. And I guess I just want to say that this year, our commission has had to borrow $1.7 million from reserves. And I hear the pain of the neighbors of this project. I hear the pain over the traffic for the few months of that construction. And I hear the worries about the view shed in that beautiful part of this county. But you know what we don't have at Louis Areola right now? A math specialist. We used to, but now we don't have the money. I came here from the soccer field watching the U12 Girls League play, and I will say that those parents are not in this meeting because they are home feeding their children. But the people not in this room have young children in this county, and they need revenue for our schools. And I guess I just want to say that as the Planning and Zoning Commission evaluates this proposal, we need to remember our county's bottom line. And that is that we need to learn to live with some new industry, because Kinder Morgan is going away. So the $1.7 million that we don't have this year is more money that we do not have next year. And as destructive as new industry can feel, it is really destructive to leave our economy in free fall. And so I guess I'm asking both the commission and the Planning and Zoning Commission to really think about the practicalities of what it is going to take to keep this county alive and to keep our young families here in a school system that works, because it requires some money. And yes, UV is a for-profit company, and we should not trust them, right? Because Atlas Tailings, let me tell you, we should not have trusted them. So we need to make sure that the decommissioning plan is rock solid. I didn't read the 547 pages in total. It looks solid. That's the job of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is that a full commitment? Can we sink our teeth into it? Is it transferable? I believe it is. It's your job to confirm that. But the beauty of solar is that it's temporary. So in 35 years, there are a couple of concrete slabs, and yes, maybe the topsoil needs some time to regenerate. But what we don't have there is a strip mall or a subdivision. It goes back to the land. So when you think super long term, think about the tax revenue and the longer time horizon. I urge you to look very carefully at the proposal, but to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone left their phone here. Is this anyone's? Is this your phone? Landon Wilson, 25227 Road 14, Pleasant View, Colorado. I first want to encourage the Planning and Zoning Board to look into some of the details of this project. You had mentioned there's a 35-foot height maximum. There is a 140 tower that they are proposing as well. There was a mention that non-potable water was being used. Well, I know that is not true. The Dolores Canyon project, they are using potable water from Montezuma Water Company. I know that because I see them, and I see them filling up at the stations. So they are not using potable water. They're using drinking water for this construction. In section 3106.1, the Montezuma County land use states that ag zone land is defined as cultivating the soil to produce and harvest crops or raise livestock in the preparation, sale, and transportation of these products to the public market. Solar energy production is not included in the land use code under the use for agriculture. According to Environment America, since 1992, Colorado has lost approximately 2.89 million acres of ag land, averaging about 690 acres per day. Colorado, if current trends continue, Colorado could lose an additional 400 to 500,000 acres of farmland and ranch land by 2040. The loss of ag land in Colorado poses several challenges. The first one is economic impact. Agriculture contributes significantly to Colorado's economy. Its decline affects jobs and local economies. Environmental concerns. Conversion of farmland to developed areas can lead to habitat loss, increased runoff, and decreased biodiversity. If the solar does get approved, it needs to be heavy industrial zoned property, not ag land or not ag zone property. I ask that you consider protecting ag land for what it is meant for the production of crops and livestock. Oh gosh, I just lost my place. If the solar does get approved, it needs to be heavy industrial zoned. Oh, I already said that. Anyways, farms grow food, not solar. Say no to solar on ag land. Thank you.
Hello. My name's Fred Porter. I guess I'm a little atypical here. I'm actually from Carbondale, Colorado, here as a tourist and as someone who's been involved in energy efficiency in big commercial buildings for the better part of my life. I also dabbled in solar. I saw my first photovoltaics at Bell Labs in New Jersey in 1980, and it's pretty amazing the progress that has led to us being able to put up glass bifacial solar panels for $1 a watt now. I've recently visited a bunch of the other solar projects in Colorado, Delta, the Garnet Mesa project in Delta, the Axial Basin project in south of Craig, which I believe this company was involved in also. I do not have a problem with solar on ag land. It's really a good place to build solar because of the soils, and around here, I visited the project up north here, that's Dolores Canyon, and This one also are both close to power lines and existing infrastructure that's been around in the gas industry. So I actually, as a tourist, I find looking at solar panels going across the rolling hills quite beautiful. I really do. Just wait until I like, once they're built, any construction project, any project under construction is going to look a lot worse than after 2 or 3 years. We've got a little project in Carbondale near the high school where the grass grows greener under the solar panels, and just last year they did start grazing sheep, even though that had not been planned as part of the project, and it worked out great. So I think these projects are really very useful and forward-thinking, and it's really the way of the future. I think you should be trying to be the solar capital of the Four Corners. So that's a tourist perspective.
Okay, folks. Give it a little bit.
Good evening. My name is Kelsey Black. I live at 13048 Road 16 at Goodman Point. I'm here in voice of opposition of the proposed Canyonland Solar. A little nervous, sorry. I'm not against renewable energy, but it is my belief that this proposal is the wrong fit for Montezuma County. Our community is being asked to sacrifice a huge swath of our agricultural landscape. We bear a local burden while electricity would serve tri-state. I would like to highlight a few points why this proposal should be rejected. This project would permanently displace farmland. The developer says a way to mitigate weeds in his proposal would be to clean all vehicles entering the site. During the peak of construction, they proposed 25 daily truck vehicles and 200 work vehicles. Will they be getting 225 car washes per day? It's highly unlikely, but say they were willing to do so, where is the water going to come from? The proposal anticipates crossing county roads at 3 points, underground cables, and generating substantial construction traffic. UV will coordinate with Montezuma County Road and Bridge for road maintenance and after construction, all in good faith. Most counties require road impact bonds for large-scale infrastructure projects. La Plata County requires financial assurance for energy development that impacts their roads. Also, the proposal has a surety bond that will begin at year 16 for the decommissioning process of the solar project. What happens if the company goes under at year 1 through 15? The landowners or the county will bear the burden of decommissioning the project. Many counties require surety bonds up front or within a few months of the project starting. Why isn't Montezuma? Our community is sacrificing agricultural land, degradation of roads, wildlife and habitat concerns, visual and aesthetic impacts, disturbance to cultural remains, etc. The little benefit Montezuma gets and many risks. I urge you all to recommend denial for this proposal.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alexia Hudson.
Before you get started, how many more folks want to do public comment that are not in the line? Okay.
All right, I'll try to
Just
talk
check it
really
in.
fast then.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Alexia Hudson. I'm at 16427 County Road 18 in Cortez. I just wanted to first start off with that I, like many other people, I'm not opposed to solar energy at all. My husband and I are actually purchasing a property that's entirely solar dependent. I am against large scale solar projects on ag land and in residential areas. Coincidentally, the place we're buying is also fighting a large-scale solar project. I wanted to speak specifically to the CPW report. Where my property is located, we are actually a canyon that goes into Yellow Jacket Canyon. So it's a natural drainage. We also have 2 springs on our property. And as you can imagine, a lot of wildlife coming through because of the water. I have never had anyone from CPW contact me or come to our property to actually witness wildlife crossing. And I'm not talking about someone sitting up on County Road S looking. No one has actually ever come. We have significant wildlife movement through our canyon, up and out. And I know that the company did make sort of a throughway for deer to pass through, but where are they going to go? To the road, to the next fence. And so I really would like to see that report. I feel like we've, people, concerned citizens have asked a lot of questions at some of the committee or the meetings that this company has put on, and we've received poo-pah answers. We'll get back to you, and I don't hear back from them. So I would like to find that report somewhere. Please give it to us. Or for the county to do a more in-depth CPW report in the areas that are impacted. The other thing that I wanted to talk to, and I see that I'm losing time, is that the archaeological impact. I know, and across our canyon also, that there are 2 large kivas, and I'm just curious if whenever the archaeological impact surveys were done, if these companies knew that these were going to go 6 feet into the ground. Bodies have been uncovered. Every year pottery is uncovered, and this kiva system is also connected to a pueblo that sits on my property. And so those are 2 significant pieces that I would like to have addressed, and I would really like if the county could take some time to look into those issues more deeply. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joshua Grounds. I live at 21078 Road 20 in Lewis. I'm here because I'm a certified residential appraiser, and this is very scary for many reasons. Not only for the people that are adjacent to the actual project, the industrial electrical project. It's not a farm. It is called external obsolescence. That is the verbiage that we use on our reports when referring to something such as this. External obsolescence also include airports, trains, schools, churches, things of that nature where there's high traffic. It has its own name because it lowers your property value. There's no way around it. It strikes me that people have the audacity to stand up here and say, I feel for the people that are adjacent to this project, because you don't. For most people, their home is their largest investment. I cannot tell you how many appraisals I do for people that are trying to refinance their home to gain money, to pay medical bills, to put their children through college, to help out a loved one. That's their only avenue. And for those people, and I'm not even talking about the people that are just adjacent to the project, this will have a negative effect on property values in Montezuma County, especially if this continues and we see more and more of these installations. My friend from Carbondale that thinks Montezuma County should be the solar capital of Colorado. I'm from Glenwood Springs. When I was a kid, I didn't drive up to Aspen, Colorado and see thousands and thousands of solar panels. I don't drive into Telluride, Colorado seeing thousands and thousands of solar panels. I don't drive into Vail blinding my, shielding my eyes from glare off of solar panels. I also have 3 young children, for the woman that came here from the soccer field. I've lived in Durango for 30 years. We recently moved here 2 years ago for a reason, and that's agriculture. It makes me nervous for our children, and it makes me sick to my stomach that certain people would take away money out of people's pockets. Who's going to pay them? It's all for money. Where do they get theirs? Thank you.
How's it going? My name is Chris Black. I'm 13048 Road 16. I think it's awfully easy for people who are maybe from Mancos, from Carbondale, to come up here and say, "Oh yeah, it'll be great." No, that's. I don't even need to go there. Whatever. I think that's some George Soros stuff getting paid in here, but whatever. That's for another time. My name's Chris Black. I'm here to urge you to reconsider allowing industrial scale solar farms on farmland in Montezuma County, especially land that holds irreplaceable ancestral Puebloan ruins and artifacts. This isn't just about energy. This is about preserving the cultural and historical fabric of our county. Montezuma County is home to sacred sites that predate the founding of this nation. Once that land is scraped, graded, and covered in solar panels, those cultural resources will be gone forever. We must also consider the poor return on land use. Solar energy, while well-intentioned, I believe, is incredibly inefficient per acre. A solar farm needs 5 to 10 acres to produce a single megawatt, from what I've been hearing. Meanwhile, a Kinder Morgan CO2 well sitting on just a few acres can produce the energy equivalent of thousands of megawatts over time, generating tax revenue, supporting local jobs, and using a fraction of the land. I just want to stop right there to the Carbondale dude that saw the prettiest thing he's ever seen wherever. Go out to Goodman Point right now and look at the wheat fields out there. Some of the most beautiful rolling hills you've ever seen in your life.
Please refrain from addressing people in
They
the
know
audience.
it's true. We're not anti-renewable, we're pro-common sense. Put solar panels where it makes sense on rooftops, brownfields, marginal land, Nevada. Not on some of the most fertile, culturally significant ground in the Four Corners. Please protect what makes Montezuma County special. Say no to this solar farm proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Curtis Duncan. I live at 16323 Road 20. That's a Cortez address. I'm a local contractor and also an ag producer. I'd like to address this meeting and inform everybody here that I am not anti-solar. I'm anti-solar on ag zone farm ground in Montezuma County. There are literally hundreds of thousands of acres across the western United States that are uninhabitable that solar panels can be installed on with no immediate adverse effects such as this proposed project. I would like to bring up two things that I feel are quite important. The first one is having some way to hold the contracting company accountable for the removal and cleanup of these projects upon their completion. It has happened countless times across the country over decades with gas and oil companies along with green energy and mining companies that take piles of money for these projects, and when it comes time to put the ground back to its original form, quote unquote, the company has bankrupted and is no longer held accountable. I feel like the only leverage that Montezuma County and its citizens have to ensure these projects are correctly decommissioned at their completion, if they are approved, is for the contract company to purchase a surety bond immediately for the amount of an estimated cost to remove and dispose of the solar array also compensating for inflation over the next 35 years. The second thing I'd like to bring up is Montezuma County Planning and Zoning Department, by recommending this for approval to the commissioners, is open yourselves up to legal litigation by not following and enforcing the current adopted land use code. As I read it regarding ag zone property, there is literally nothing about installation of commercial solar as an approved use of the land. What is the purpose of an adapted land use code if there is no enforcement? That is your entire purpose within the county. If the landowners want to use their land for commercial solar...
Sir, you're at time. Thank you.
You never started it.
Oh, you never started it?
I've timed this out. It's 2.5 minutes,
that.
man.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, you lost my place now.
Sorry about that.
If the landowners want to use their land for commercial solar, that ground all needs to go through a rezoning process. You want to know what is literal green energy? A growing field of wheat that provides calories that are consumable to animals and humans. Energy. That is literally grown in the color green. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Darlene Klemish. I live at 12737 Highway 491, and I am the new property owner right in the middle of this solar project. We have been looking at this property for 2 years. If you drive out there, it is the most beautiful country I have ever seen. We've lived in New Mexico, and we have moved up here. We want to homestead this property for us, for our grandchildren, and it's going to be an eyesore. It's going to be all around us. We will have to drive through it every single day. The construction, people that don't live around there, people that don't live out there they're not going to be affected by this. So, yeah, they want that. The revenue, we don't get that solar. It goes on a big grid. We don't get that. I don't believe that the tax breaks and the stuff that we will get for the community is going to be enough to offset everything that's going to be destroyed out there. Water, fortunately we have a well out there, so we will have water for our livestock that we are going to put out there. It's going to be an eyesore for us, and I vote no, absolutely, for everybody out there. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to shorten this up. Yeah, we're going to shorten up the time to 2 minutes a person. There's still a lot of people that want to make public comment. We want to make sure everybody has time, so go ahead.
Hi, I'm speaking here on behalf of my sister, Liz Wilson, address 13690, and I would like to also put my name on there as well, Mike Buckles. I'm at 13644 Road 18. I'm sorry, I don't think I put her road address on there. So, Road 18, Cortez. Born and raised here in Goodman Point, her and myself. I'm 54 years of age. Both of our parents are buried there in Goodman Point Cemetery. And her late husband, 3 years ago, 47 years old, died of a heart attack, so we're very close to here. UV has mentioned the $1 million already spent on this project and the length of time put in. You really shouldn't have any sympathy. Hopefully you'll recognize that for the tactic that it is, and will not let this influence your decision. Please remember this. That amount is the cost of doing business to a large corporation. This is not your problem. This is not the neighbor's problem. This is not the county's problem. It's UV's problem. For as much as UV makes it appear as if they've done us a favor by proposing this project in our county, consider this. They are a big corporation, expects to make money for their investors from a commercial industrial project. For as much as they will tell you they've worked closely with the neighbors, I've never heard it from you. I'm only down the road half a mile. Don't know your
Sir,
faces.
please, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
That was not made clear to me. Made every consideration to them and have used their input to design this project, and there has never been anyone who said, wow, I can't wait to have this next door. Now, it's not right on my property, but I'm a half mile from it. The narrative and documents presented in HIP 03-2025 do not reflect the neighbors' positions accurately in any way or in any form. You will be presented with numerous discrepancies found in HIP 03-2025. I'm sorry, I'm reading someone else's letter here. By people who have the actual experience of real life at Goodman Point. Telling us this is good for us and for the county is not enough. The residents of Goodman Point readily recognize good marketing. They're innovative, resilient, and astute. They're not people who should be grateful.
Sir, please finish up. You're at time.
I got 3 more minutes. They're not people who should be grateful for a perceived opportunity to understand a solar farm certainly represents a change of land use from what you are accustomed to. In the words of DavidKimmett, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, if you be really understood, we wouldn't be here this evening. Listen to those lives that could be significantly changed for the next 35 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank the commission for entertaining us tonight. My name is Jack Tanner. I live at 20978 County Road U. That's one of the main roads that's going to go through, and that's going to have a big impact on our little farming neighborhood there, and I farm some 400 acres right there. I give this in conjunction with a neighbor that lives on Road S and 17. Driving to Goodman Point and park at the intersection of Road S and 17. Arrive about sunrise or sunset, stay for 15 minutes. Then compare that experience with what you see before you in HIP 03-2025, and to which I refer. Do you know the sound of silence? That $8.4 million over 35 years mentioned in the Journal on March 19th, quoted by Mr. Kimmett, regarding projected revenues must be examined further. Or you could use the new number, 9.8 million. The actual amount of revenue will be determined every odd-numbered year. The Dolores Town Hall meeting in April, someone asked what 8.4 million is per month. Anybody can do the math. That's $20,000 a month. For 9.8 million, it's $23,333 per month. Would you really use that pittance as a basis to approve this kind of a project? Ask your current colleagues in Dolores County, which I have business in Dolores County, who inherited the Dolores Canyon project, whether it is worth it. I guarantee you a lot of the residents I visit with and the farmers are not really pleased to have that in their neighborhood. Whether it's worth it. Relying solely on the letter of recommendation known as Appendix 5B, 543, signed by officials who approved that project, would be in gross error. Ask your current colleagues what their thoughts are during this present phase.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you.
Could I close just by saying, please be, I heard about sheep, please beware of a wolf coming in sheep's clothing.
My name is Joseph Clemish. I live at 12737 Highway 491. We are the new neighbor that has purchased land. I think about it, anybody in this room, we are the most impacted. If you pulled up the map, we are the little square right in the center of all of this project. I've worked in the construction business for 15 plus years. My biggest concern is the construction hiccups that will come with this project. You said something about pounding posts. I wish you luck. There's a lot of rock out there. So if we do hit rock, what are the mitigations for construction changes? Are those in the project? Are we going to have to change to drilling, to concreting these posts? The dust control. Again, I've worked in the business for a long time. The dust control is a load of baloney. Using water just to spray down surface dust does not work. There needs to be a better mitigation for the dust controls during these constructions. I've seen it firsthand, and I've been on the contracting side of all of that. Since we are the new residents, are we going to have an adjusted residence setback? I know this was put in before we established our residence. I want to consider that from our home that is going to be right in that property. Another thing to consider is the purchase agreement, to whether it be tri-state or not. We need to look at those standards of how they will be held after the project is sold to that company. There's a lot of gray areas in the verbiage used throughout this proposing. I would like to see every promise be put in writing. And also the thing I want to bring up next is the actual $280,000 that's going to be profited to the schools. How much is that actually going to benefit our schools? A lot of the other meetings I've seen, the the amounts of $200,000 is pennies in these guys' pockets that they can actually give back to this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jerry Goodall. I live on 16245 County Road 24, right off of S. I was raised on Goodman Point, and my concern is that this is not isolated. These are not new things. Other countries have done this around the world. Beginning of this month, Italy has stopped all their ground-mounted photovoltaic projects due to the impact on ag land, that is on agricultural projects on ag land. So they have stopped everything on their ag land due to the impact on the agricultural communities and on the fisheries. So we're not isolated. We need to look outside what has happened elsewhere. And I would strongly suggest that when you look at a country such as Italy that is very impactful with its agricultural land, that we need to think of our own agricultural land. We don't have the water. We grow dry land, but it takes a lot more acres in dry land to grow food, but it grows food for our country. And we need to keep that in mind. It goes beyond just our community. And we need not to think that this is an isolated project. We're planning on shipping solar energy out. But what about what we currently ship out or are capable of shipping out that will support us here? And so we need to look, the impacts are far beyond what you can even imagine. Far beyond. And if other countries are willing to put a stop to all ground-mounted photovoltaic issues and projects, we need to stop and say, is this something we want to be putting in here? Just keep that in mind. And I say absolutely not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Bonnie McGuire, 16413 County Road 18. Something that actually has not been talked about too much, health, safety, and welfare. Citing large-scale utility projects in rural areas make them an easy target away from urban surveillance. Higher crime rates can occur. Due to the increasing price of copper and high scrap value potential solar panels, theft of equipment, tools, and other materials, criminal activities, even at the local level, can often target these facilities. Not to mention vandalism, potential for arson in the dry grass around the project, and for illegal dumping areas to occur. Increased traffic and activity in the area may create opportunities for criminals to target local residences. Speaking of traffic, the safety of our roads with the extreme amount of traffic that will go out to the project area will increase the likelihood of farm equipment collisions, loose livestock, wildlife collisions, and traffic collisions with the local residents, especially with two blind hills going down Road S on 18 North and 18 South, and two other dangerous intersections on Road S, 21 and 491. And also welfare. It is no secret that being out in nature is therapeutic. It can reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. The quality and characteristics of the setting we inhabit, the places we live and work, influences our mental health and well-being. The thought of being surrounded by fences, metal, and glass will, and it has already affected mental health in the overall community residents. Keep in mind 10 property owners, 15 parcels directly affect 57 properties, and so many more. Please say no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zach Farian, 12130 Road 20, Cortez. I'll be short. I just want to remind you that if you approve this, you're setting precedent, okay, for the next, and the next, and the next. So Dolores already did it. This one's going in pretty close to that one. Thankfully, it's out in a different jurisdiction. So just remember, you let this one go, there's going to be the next. Because the property owners next to them, why wouldn't they lease it to the next solar company and get their money, right? I know for a fact this commission has turned down the use of a home for a wedding venue in the past, but yet we're considering 900 acres to turn it into solar. It seems pretty ridiculous. Or maybe it's just a money threshold. So I urge you very much to say no to this.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Olivia, 20978 Road U. That was my grandfather. So one of the biggest concerning things for me, there's a lot of things that I'm against. I also wasn't prepared to speak, but one of the things that caught my eye was a truck route being down County Road U. That's the road I've grown up on. That's the road my mother grew up on, and subsequently it's the road we farm on, the child's lives. There's an elementary school on the other side of the highway. There's children crossing the street going to and from school. There's been children that my mom has picked up to take from crossing that highway. If we allow these trucks to go in, regardless of the time, elementary school is 9 months of the year. If they move during the summer, then you affect all of the farmers, the four-wheelers, the cows, the horses, the life, my dogs, my pets, me taking a run on my county road. There's going to be so much impact that regardless if it's for a short amount of time, if it's going to help, proposed, no promise. They have not made any commitments to helping our community, helping our school. They would like to. They want to send money here and there. Lewis Elementary didn't have a math tutor when I was there. That was the school I went to. There was no math teacher, and I'm finishing college. So please understand that if we're moving forward to have this solar panel benefit our community, make it promised or don't allow it at all. Because this community, this subsequent town, Lewis Areola, is not built for solar panels. We're built to farm and we're built to produce for our community. So please understand that and take that into consideration moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susie Switzer and I live at Road 21.5 in Lewis. And by the way, this was the first meeting I ever got notice of, which I'm not sure why, but I never got anything to the post office or anything. I'm not especially prepared right now, but I wanted to ask you about best use. I'd always heard of the terms best use for land. This is ag land. I see my neighbors, my friends in this place, people that farm, that ranch, that grow hay. And believe me, we have a wonderful area out there for growing grass. You can't stop it. It's great. Pasture is great. We have some of the best cattle in this entire country grazing on our pastures. And we're very proud of that. This is not the use for ag land. Good agricultural land is hard to come by. And this is wrong to put solar panels on ag land. And I think that's the way most all of us feel, all of my neighbors, everyone I've talked to. We don't want this project. It's an aberration. And I would like to mention one other thing. If you've been watching the news, you know what happened just recently in Spain and Portugal and the southern France. Because of the reliance on intermittent energy that the UE has forced on Europe, they had terrible, terrible blackouts. It is not reliable energy. It should be done smaller scale. It's fine for your barn that you want to have some electricity in. It is not in this scale. 960 ag acres. Please don't do this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Megan Murfield, address 17022, County Road 30, Dolores, Colorado. I am a working fifth-generation farmer in Yellow Jacket. I don't have much to say that hasn't already been said, with no disrespect, and I'm not targeting any one direct person, but for anyone who is for this, I'd like to welcome them to come work a day on our farm and then tell us how easily the land affected by the aftermath of this project will go back into farmable land. I'd like to reiterate the statement, farms grow food, not solar. Say no to solar on ag land. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Colleen Edwards, 25109 Road L.4, Cortez. And the solar panels, according to the internet, only last 25 to 30 years. And They can be recycled, but it's very costly at $20 to $30 per panel. And however, the landfill prices are approximately $1 to $5 per panel. So guess where all those solar panels are going to end up is in our landfill. And 950 acres of solar panels. And you know, I'm not a used car salesman, but boy, have I got a deal for you. So you know how when you drive your car off the lot, it devalues right away? Or if you buy a computer and you get it home and it's already out of date. So the WAVJA is developing a photon energy system, PES, orbs that are 60 times more powerful and 200 times more efficient than a solar panel, have a self-contained battery and have 7.5 times more output, and is 30 times smaller than a solar panel. They are the size of a baseball. They are clean, efficient, small, and powerful. They can harness LED light or sunlight. And they are clean, renewable energy. They have plans to have them power cars also. Why don't we wait until these products are similar or available instead of flooding our land with unsightly solar panels as far as the eye can see and disrupt the animal habitat? And who wants to visit canyons of the ancients and see miles and miles of solar panels?
Thank you.
Katie Murfield, 17022 Road 30. I work on a 1,500 irrigated acre farm in Yellow Jacket. And the reason I'm here is because we were confronted by a solar company and proposed to lease our land. And as farmers, yes, we don't make a lot of money. And we don't even own a lot of our land. So when they confront us, that one of the hardest things about farming is actually finding people to work, because you don't make a lot of money and it's hard work, and you don't usually, a lot of times, even can't afford the land payment, so you're leasing it from someone that does. So what happens when these companies come and lease this land out, not only are they threatening our lifestyle, which is what we do it for, it takes away that land that we need to survive to farm and be farmers. And that is farmers are one of the most diminished occupations in the world at this point in time. The more farmland you take away from us, and the harder it is to get people to farm, you're just killing us. You're killing us as farmers. It's making it very difficult. It's just another threat. It's another threat to the farmer. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Samantha Sanchez, and I live on Road 16277, Road 20 in S. I'm right on the corner. I moved here a year and a half ago from Phoenix to get away from all the noise, all the dust, all the traffic. And I can tell you now, on my property, there's anywhere from 40 to 60 deer every day that cross my property. And just north of me, during the winter, it's elk going across there, north of me. Okay, I'm totally against this solar. And I can say in Arizona, solar panels everywhere, and nobody has nothing but problems. They spend thousands of dollars on them. They never follow through with what they say they're going to give you. They're upside down on house payments because they had to take out loans to pay for solar panels. And they don't work as good as they say they do. And another concern of mine is they have no study here on the EMFs that these solar panels are going to put out, electromagnetic frequency. Everybody knows that everything is energy, and all mankind is made of energy, and they're affected by the electromagnetic frequencies that are put out by the huge towers. They're going to be collecting this energy from these solar panels, and the frequency that these solar panels emit, they cause cancer. They've been hiding it from everybody. We're having all kinds of people in Arizona that have been having all kinds of problems. They have no study on the EMFs that are put off by these big towers and these solar panels. I'm totally against them. Right on the corner of S and 20 is a bus stop. We had problems a while back when the city was working. Trucks were going 65 miles an hour past my house, and they weren't stopping on the corner where the bus stop is. They were running the stop sign. You know, are we going to have problems like this with all this traffic? You know, my blood pressure was 197 over 98 until I moved up here. I came up here to get away from all of this. You know, that's all I'm saying. But my biggest problem is these EMFs.
Thank you.
There's no study. They haven't brought us any study on that. Totally against it. It causes cancer.
Thank you.
Steve Wilderson, 13955 Road 31, Mancus. I went by the rec center today in Cortez, and there used to be a little display on the wall that showed the output of the solar panels on that roof. I said, where are those? They said, well, they unplugged those a couple of years ago. They don't know why. I think the statistic I came up with is that 50% of solar companies go out of business. If solar is so great, why is it 25% of it subsidized by the government? Why can't it stand on its own 2 feet? There's a thing called a solar heat island. And when you put up a solar array, it raises the temperature of the surrounding area around that solar by about 36 degrees. So what's that going to do to that land in that area? So think about those things when you consider it. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jerry Spandrio, 23905 Road 12 in Pleasant View. My first comment is, I think most of us here have heard seen a presentation like this before. My first concern is they just dangle the carrot of tax revenue. So my question to you is, are you willing to sacrifice our ag land for a couple $100,000 of tax revenue? Also, are you willing to impact the quality of life of all of those residents around that solar project for a couple $100,000 of tax revenue? The other point is they put up the graphic 250 to 300 jobs, and you go, wow, that's a bunch. Realistically, how many of those jobs do you think are going to come, short-term jobs, are going to be filled locally? They talked about the Dolores project. Did they tell Dolores County that they were going to have 300 jobs? Yet they themselves said that they contracted somebody from Ignacio, which is La Plata County. So I just, the other item is that they said they're feeding that substation, the tri-state substation. Realistically, we have no way of knowing if 1 kilowatt of that energy is even going to be distributed to the local counties. Anyway, I urge you not to approve this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kirsten Howell, 16715 Road 22. I want to thank the commissioners for their attention tonight. You guys have been very attentive, and the active listening is impressive. Thank you for taking the time. I oppose the development of the Canyonland Solar utility on Goodman Point for a number of reasons. And I would start by saying that nobody lives in Montezuma County because they want to be rich. First and foremost, they're building this development in the midst of a community. Just because there's big pieces of land between houses doesn't mean that it's not a community, and it doesn't mean that it's not usable land. You can't, a lady said, you can't farm on dry land in the intensity that you can on irrigated land, and that's very true. This land has a purpose, and it's not for a utility photovoltaic array. I think that the impact on the residents needs to be the first and foremost consideration. 800 feet from your house? Are you kidding me? Do you want to look out your window and see a photo array 800 feet from your house? That's ridiculous. It's also unclear, based on the conversations tonight, that this development will meet the land use codes as outlined, considering health, safety, welfare, nuisance items, and other standards. There's multiple things that aren't to code. Additional concerns have been brought up: wildlife habitat impact, soil erosion. It's a huge issue. You take the topsoil off and the native vegetation, and what happens? We all know what happens. We see it all the time. That's how you get arroyos. It goes away. It runs downhill with the water. Archaeological impacts are enormous, and then the microclimate impacts that other people have spoken of, those are a very real concern. Goodman Point has a very extreme climate, and that was spoken to as well. The weather out there is like nothing that happens anywhere else in the county. I've seen things that should not be off the ground lifted up by wind. It's impressive, and they're, feet and feet of snow. I don't have much more to say that hasn't already been said, but solar on ag land is a no-go.
Thank you.
Dan Jenkins, 318 South Ash, Cortez, Colorado. I don't want to specifically speak towards what's being talked about here tonight, but I understand that right now, is there a 6-month moratorium on putting solar projects into place in Montezuma County? Is that my understanding? Because I heard something along those lines.
We're not responding. Just please present your
Okay.
comment.
Well, so that being said, that right now the county is in a position where they're trying to figure out how to create code and create requirements around solar projects like this. And I've heard a lot of ambiguity throughout this. What we're talking about is Colorado solar regulations. That's the only 3 words you need to compile together for anybody in this room, county commissioners, this board, anybody who's interested in this in the state of Colorado, but specifically Montezuma County. You go to that, and that site will be the only place that you need to visit on the internet to be able to get to the next place, right? That is NRail's government website. These guys drove by it on the way up here from Longmont. They're going to drive by it on the way home. National Renewable Energy Laboratory has a very clear, specific 2024 up-to-date ledger that compiles every single
Please
thing
address
you
the
need to know
commission.
for
Sir, could you please address us? Thank you.
the application in the state of Colorado for a solar regulation. 64 pages. There's more information than you will be able to comprehend in several sittings. That's where Montezuma County needs to go to say half the counties in Colorado have that square circled. Montezuma County is in the yellow zone. We're not in the green zone. We need to know that. We need to be able to support you in enforcing that.
Thank you.
My name's Mitch Reisenhuber. I live at 51653 Highway 491. I grew up here. I've lived here all my life, off and on. I've worked all over the country, overseas. I've done lots of inspections and stuff. I would love to be able to go out and actually check the topsoil and stuff, what's been done with it out on the Dolores County one. I also am a wildlife photographer, so I document the wildlife in this area, and I can tell you right now, this is going to impact our wildlife. It's going to impact our farms, our ranches. This land was for farming and for ranching. The lake that we have out here that everybody gripes about the water flow, this was built for the farmers and the ranchers, because that's what this place does, has for generations. Out here in Dolores County, that's my great-grandfathers on both sides of my family, my grandfathers, my dad, where they used to farm. This is going to impact everything, and this ain't just the Dolores County and Montezuma County. This is a world problem. If you look at the information out there, this is affecting the whole world. These solar farms, these wind farms that they have, and they're causing lots of issues and problems. There's health issues that's been brought up. In my research, I'm finding out that there's not a lot of information. There's, you know, but they're saying that there's health problems, mental health problems that's being caused by these. The setbacks, the reason why those setbacks is because of the health concerns. The smart meters that they have out on these, they do the EMF, and that's why they have them setbacks. And
Thank you, sir.
I got one last thing. I've got a page that I've been documenting the updates out here in Dolores County. Just go to that page and look at it and read the comments on it. And you guys will see what people think of these solar farms in this area.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Kara Lynch. I live at 21200 County Road U, just neighbor of Jack and Olivia, and just want to say that the impact that the amount of traffic, first of all, that is going to be happening in our little rural community is going to be impacted tremendously. I mean, you won't even be able to go out and walk a dog or walk with your kids and feel safe. I'm glad Olivia brought up the fact that, yeah, Lewis Areola School is right there. There's so many blind hills from County Road U to 20, all the way around. People already drive too fast, and just our way of life, the safety of our kids and families, dogs, livestock, they're going to be affected. Also, I'm not a scientist or meteorologist, don't claim to be, but I watch the storms. Like I said, live on U. You can watch the storms come from the Ute, Goodman Point, come towards our area. It seems like the temperature increase from the solar panels seems like that is going to be affecting the weather coming towards our area. We already don't get moisture like we used to. I'm not a big believer in climate change, but something's happening, and I do think that weather patterns will be affected from the solar panels. Also, just don't take away any more farmland, and I just want to go on the record not in support of the solar farms. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Susan Chemnitz, 511 South Cedar Street. I have a really problem with the mitigation, the actual decommission of this project. Somebody kind of mentioned this about the fact that it doesn't kick in until 15 years, the 100%. But my problem with this is that if you think this is such a great project and it's going to be so good, why don't you say that you're going to do whatever it takes to get rid of this at the end? Because when you look at it, they've done an estimate on how much it will cost to decommission it. And then they added a little bit to it and made it sound like that's great. But here's my issue. In 35 years, you have no idea how much that's going to cost to rip that out of there. You have no idea. And so even if you're adding some kind of, interest or whatever to that surety, and even if you get something up front, it's not going to pay for it. But my biggest issue here is that, if you really believe in this project, why would you come in here and talk about it? You're supposed to be presenting the project and talk about how, we're going to give some money to this person or that person. That's a damn bribe. So I'm sorry. I'm very against this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, for hearing this. I appreciate it very much. My name is Alan Mays, 21693 County Road 21. I live a long way from this project, but I do look straight down at the Ute Mountain every morning drinking coffee. It's changing, and it will change. There's no doubt about it. But this project is going to change my viewscape. It's going to change wildlife patterns, and the project is going to kill that land. We talk a little bit about what happens underneath those panels. We know that those microorganisms aren't going to come back in 10 years after this project is decommissioned. There have to be conditions that this committee looks at if they consider moving it to the commissioners. If they decide to do that, there need to be lots of conditions. One of them is that the plan, the proposal, needs to be cleaned up. There needs to be wording that makes it clear that this is what they promised to do and they will do. The security bond needs to be put up front, and it needs to be sufficient. And I don't think that whether those things are recyclable or not, our landfill cannot accept those. And so where are they going to go and what's going to happen there? My family has been in this area for a long time. We have farmed this land. The precipitation that I get at my place is different than Goodman Point. And so I'm glad that they're saying there won't be any sheep under those panels, because it won't grow the feed that they need to have in something like that. But because of that precip, the land is going to be lost, no matter what. 35 years under those panels, it will be lost. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Oh, and I do not approve of this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Teresa Carlson, 16295 Road N. I'm here tonight with my neighbors, and I just want to say I'm a no for the Canyonland Solar project. Goodman Point's a beautiful place, and I'd like for it to stay that way. I think you all had some excellent questions for these two gentlemen. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think we're done with public comment. So I guess we can ask the applicants if they have any additional information they want to provide based on the comments. And then we can open up to commissioners for additional questioning if that's warranted.
Chair, can I confer with my colleague just for one
Certainly.
second, just to ask if he has any question?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioners. At this time, we don't have anything else to state. We are very much interested in additional questions from the Commission. Want to thank everyone for being here tonight. There's excellent comment made, and I know it's a challenging decision you have to make. So, yeah, if there are further questions from the Commission, we're happy to entertain those.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Yeah, there were some things brought up in public comment that I think you could probably address pretty easily. One was the decommissioning plan. Someone wanted to see that. I think you can address that.
Yeah, happy to do so. So the decommissioning plan is a component, it's one of the sub-plans of the project, and as was mentioned in different ways by different area residents, the estimated value of the project to the cost, I should say, the estimated cost to decommission the project. And by decommissioning, that means removing the materials from the site and bringing the land back to a state as it is currently, is $7.8 million, if I recall, in the plan. And as was mentioned, UV has proposed at year 16 to fully fund a decommissioning either bond or letter of credit or parent guarantee for $10 million. And so that would be, the year 16 comes in because for the first 20 years of a potential power purchase agreement with the utility, the project is under contract to deliver power. So the incentive to deliver, regardless, let's just say in theory, whoever purchases Canyonland Solar as a project goes bankrupt, say 5 years or 10 years beforehand. There will be a sale of that project immediately because the value of the project is so great. There is so much value inherent in that, and there's a guaranteed contract to deliver that power for 20 years. So we're dialing that back to at year 16, funding $10 million, so roughly a couple $1 million over the decommissioning cost that's estimated to do so at this time. And understandably, there is inflation, and that was mentioned. There's an inflationary component. No one knows in 16 years from now what that inflation rate could possibly be. So tying it to the CPI could be a means to address that inflationary aspect.
So another comment had to do with the Colorado Parks and Wildlife report. Can you confirm that report was also included in your application?
So Colorado Parks and Wildlife reviewed our project and essentially shared advice on how to through best practices, their best practices for avoiding wildlife migration corridors as much as possible and breaking up, as was mentioned in the letter that Planning Assistant Duncan read, breaking up the project into component parts separately fenced to allow for potential wildlife migration corridors. So there's that. They reviewed, what CPW has done is reviewed the third-party consultant wildlife report that is a part of the project. So that was one of the appendices in the application, was the wildlife I'm drawing a blank on the name, but conducted by West Inc., the Cheyenne, Wyoming-based consultant that produced the wildlife report.
And then last among the comments, there was a question about an archaeological survey and whether that report is included in the application.
Yes, that's one of the components of the project. There are portions of the work done by Woods Canyon that are cannot be revealed to the public for under Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. But yeah.
I've got more if you guys do not.
Yeah, I'll go. I want to thank everybody too for taking all the time and sharing your thoughts on this project, you gentlemen as well. The question I have is, you have potential leases with people for this acreage that we're talking about. Were any of those people here speaking tonight? Do you know?
On the option land? Yeah.
Yes.
So we have options on land that could potentially go under lease.
Okay.
And truth be told, many of those landowners do not live locally. I did see, yeah. They're still local landowners.
Do me a favor. Let them speak. They weren't making comments, but you guys were talking. I'm sorry.
There was one individual who spoke this evening who we have an option agreement with, but the project is not cited on that individual's land.
Do you know, okay, I appreciate that. Do you know, one of the speakers commented that a lot of the farmers, actually farm my land as well, but some of the farmers lease land. Are farmers leasing the land that the remote owners, where you have the lease options on?
In part, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
in part.
What part?
Some,
Percentage-wise, I mean, is it half? Is it 80%? Is it 5%?
what would
you
your best
say?
guess be? Yeah,
If-
yeah. 70-75%.
Okay. Question, I'm just curious on the sort of the business model as it would progress with Tri-State. So you're hoping to have a deal with Tri-State, am I understanding that right? If you were to have this project approved by the county commissioners, that you would then potentially have an agreement with Tri-State, or no?
So the project has been entered into a tri-state RFP, a request for proposals. And there's a potential that it would be selected by tri-state. There's also a potential it will not be selected by tri-state. And so if it is not in the final selection process selected by tri-state, then we would bid it into potentially other RFPs. And there's a possibility that it would never meet success. It would never be picked up. We would have a land use permit, and a project would not be built.
Is that something that Tri-State is looking at other people to bid to supply energy to them for?
Yes.
From different areas, or how does that work?
Right, yeah, so it was a 2024 RFP, and it's a competitive RFP, and so like all of them are, and
As
so.
they should be.
Yeah, and so different projects across Colorado, New Mexico, Tri-State's service area, bid into the project, or bid into the RFP, sorry, and are right now going through the process of the final selection, and then that has to go before the Public Utilities Commission.
Okay. And timing on that?
Yeah, so their decision, or the Public Utility Commission's review, will be complete by the end of May, and shortly thereafter, Tri-State would be working with counterparties on contracting actual projects to integrate into their system.
It's not an easy situation. I personally lived in South Carolina once, about 6 miles from a nuclear plant. Which, if you think solar sounds bad to you, I can promise you living near a nuclear plant is a little frightening as well. I would say more frightening. Not that, well, I don't know, do we have any proposals coming down the road for nuclear here? It has come up. Seriously. I'm not
Just a
making
question
that
for
up.
Don really quick. In terms of surety bonds, is that something that the county can do, typically does? Is that?
Yeah, it's a stipulation in the land use code.
Yeah.
And as far as the bond with the Road and Bridge Department, that would be consistent with what we've done with Kinder Morgan. So they post a bond at the end of the construction period, then the evaluation's done on any damage, repairs, upgrades to roads, and that bond would cover that work. The surety, that would be stipulated by the commissioners. I'm sure there would probably be evaluation periods. Costs go up every 5 years, might be a review. Increase the surety with the cost of living, cost of expenses, something to that effect. But that's strictly the commissioner's purview.
Thank you for clarifying that for
Sure.
everybody.
So is it back to the board, or are we still asking questions?
if you have any more questions,
I don't
please
have
ask
any
them.
questions,
Okay.
ma'am. I'm ready.
Okay, I think we're ready to entertain a motion then.
No, I'm ready to discuss among the board.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Sorry. I thought you were ready to make a motion.
No.
Okay.
So, in Chapter 1, Section 2 of the Land Use Code, says in the first section, 1201, general quote, one of the major objectives of the comprehensive land use plan is to protect the rural character of the county through the enactment of development regulations appropriate for rural areas. This objective is addressed by a zoning system and a complementary high-impact commercial or industrial permitting system, which are combined in this land use code, close quote. Therefore, the zoning system is a fundamental part of the land use code, and the HIP, high-impact permit, is complementary to zoning. Chapter 3 of the Land Use Code is the zoning section, pages 15 through 36. There's 22 pages there. The Land Use Code, not including the recent addition for variances, is about 80 pages long, so over 25% of the Land Use Code involves zoning. My understanding is that the zoning section of the Land Use Code should not be bypassed or skipped when a high-impact permit is applied for. It should be the first stopping point in the Land Use Code whenever a change of use is under consideration. The high-impact permit is complementary to the zoning system, not the other way around. Most of the parcels and acreage in this project are zoned agriculture. They appear to be properly zoned for the current use. In part 6.6.1 of the project documentation, it states, quote, unquestionably, the project represents a change in land use from what has been historically active agricultural lands across a pastoral landscape, close quote. In a Board of County Commissioner meeting in August 8, 2023, Commissioner Copenhaver said something to the effect that he was on the committee that developed the Land Use Code, and he thinks commercial use should be zone commercial. Notice, he is implying that the zoning should match the use. For this project, the zoning that would match its use is found in Part 3312, which is on page 29, under Uses by Right, 3312.3 Part A, number 16, quote, renewable energy, hydroelectric, solar or wind farms, close quote. That zoning designation is heavy industrial zone. Furthermore, public or private utility is not a use by right on ag land per the Land Use Code. It is a use by right under the zoning designation of heavy industrial zone, and for that reason, I believe this application should not be approved because there is no rezoning application included. That's not a motion.
Okay.
I agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
I agree too.
You can do it. Make it short.
I need the right word first. Mr. Chair, I move to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to deny a proposed high-impact and special use permit application for a solar voltaic electricity generation facility submitted by Canyonland Solar LLC agent DavidKimmett on properties owned by Dennis Hutchinson, Tissaw Family Trust, Goodman Point Farms LLC, Susan Last, Jon and Robyn Foster, James Wilson-Baxstrom, Miners Trust, J Schafer Living Trust, and Jon and JessicaChappell based on the following. The proposed use is not in conformity with the code.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Let's call for-
Now, I made this mistake before. The motion is to deny,
Correct.
So the vote of aye is to deny. I made this mistake before. I don't want to make it again.
I remember that.
Okay. All right, call the vote.
Commissioner Armstrong,
Aye.
Commissioner Lynch,
Aye.
Commissioner Doyle,
Aye.
All right. The motion has been denied for recommendation, so appreciate your time. Don can talk to you guys about next steps.
Yeah.
Where,
Can I make
Go
a
ahead.
statement? Can I make a statement?
um,
Just off the record.
The hearing's closed.
I just off the record statement. I just want to, I do sincerely want to thank everyone for being here and for your passion in this. I've appreciated the time I've got to spend. And I can't say if we'll be back again or not, but thank you for your dedication to your people and your land. I appreciate it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, is there any further yeah, let's wait till everybody clears out. See if we have any more further discussion.
Thank you guys. I know it's hard sitting in this seat. I did it for 8 years, and you guys did your job. As far as the lighting is covered, you're supposed to do it.
put us back on broadcast
We're
before
good.
I can make
Do
a
it.
motion.
I think we're ready.
Yeah, me then. Like,
Is there any additional discussion tonight? Anybody wants to bring up?
Negative.
Okay. Motion
I'd
to
like to
adjourn?
make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Vote, oh, we got a vote?
Commissioner Dawes, you're probably tired, aren't you?
Yeah.
I've been traveling.
Motion
since
to
very
adjourn
early
at,
this morning.
motion to adjourn at 9:16.
Sure. Well, you already